Dave Lamont along with Kelly Stauffer, we thank you for joining us on a gorgeous day here in Fort Worth. Plenty at stake in this game as we show you the standings because both these teams, 2-1. The winner of this game is going to start thinking, hey, we can win the conference title. The loser is going to start preparing their press releases with the term needs 6th win for bowl eligibility, Kelly. And so this game for the middle of the year has got a lot of weight.
You're absolutely right. I think if you don't win this game today, you can really slide downhill very, very quickly the rest of the stretch.
And in a conference that is very tough this year, both these teams have some giant games left, but none bigger than this one. TCU, Purple will receive the opening kickoff. And instead it'll go out nearby the Texas Tech band. Trevon Boykin. Another start for the redshirt freshman. That's what he did last week against Baylor. This is just his 3rd start. His first one against Iowa State was a little shaky, but he was magnificent against Baylor, a redshirt freshman from Mesquite, Texas.
And remember that Boykin was practicing as a running back 2 weeks prior to his first start against Iowa State. You're right, he was shaky then, but he took a giant step forward last week against Baylor, especially in the pass game, but he has to win today with his feet.
He's going against one of the best defenses in the country, ranked 4th in the nation. A good read there by Boykin. He ran the ball well against Baylor and runs it well here, gets a first down on the opening drive, and DJ Johnson, number 12, on the stop.
And this is what Boykin brings to the table. The quarterback zone read. You can see the defensive end crashes down. Poland replaced where that defensive end was. But Boykin has to put this offense really on his back, more or less on his feet, and make plays like that today.
One of the big things that we were told yesterday by TCU coach Gary Patterson, we've got to get Boykin off to a quick start and build his confidence. And that's going to be a false start. TCU, that won't help. It'll make it first down and 15.
And Dave, the administration of the offense and things
a false
like
start by 85 of the offense. The 5-yard penalty, and it's still first down.
Getting your teams in and out of the huddle and getting the right play called is what Gary Patterson right there wants to see out of his quarterback today.
He finally has his team in a BCS conference. TCU has bounced all over the college football landscape, or so it seems. Now, geographically, they're in the right place, I think, in the Big 12, and certainly their fans are juiced about it.
Oh, their fans think they finally have come home. There's no question about that.
This time, this is Catalan untouched until they get to the 45 and into Texas Tech territory. Down to the 41-yard line. Catalan, the freshman from Houston, is brought down by Bruce Jones.
We saw Boykin keep the first one. Watch the defensive end this time. He plays a little soft. And so that's a good read by the quarterback. The young quarterback making great decisions, not only in the pass game, but he has to do that in the run game this afternoon.
Boykin's first pass, sidearm sling, caught around the 25-yard line. The catch made by Sky Dawson, who's got great speed and showed some nice hands there. That's about a 20-yard pickup to the 22.
Don't be taken aback by the kind of 3/4 arm sling right there by the quarterback. The accuracy, the ball placement, the timing. The ball has to come out on time. That's the improvement you saw from week 1 or start 1 to start 2 with Boykin. He was making really quick decisions in the pass game.
This is a Texas Tech defense that throttled Geno Smith a week ago. 3 first downs already for the Horned Frogs. Catalan again, this time a little resistance as he gets to inside the 20, the 19-yard line. Terrence Bullitt and Jackson Richards in there on the stop for the Red Raiders.
Typically, TCU wants to be impeccably balanced offensively. And you see that right now. They want to run it in order to throw it when they decide to throw it, when they think they have the numbers and the leverage. And they're running the ball really well right now. Up front, this offensive line is still learning one another. They're playing very well so far.
Brandon Carter, number 3, Ladarius Brown, number 85 on the left side. Back out of the backfield, throwing the middle field into the end zone. It is a touchdown, Dawson.
See the stretch on number 25 D's right underneath. We have the route by Dawson in behind. Boyce was in front of him. been trying to hold him. Once again, a very good read and a good finish by Dawson with the reception in the end zone.
So all the talk of the improved Texas Tech defense, number 4 in the nation, after being 114th last year, and on the opening drive, TCU ran right through them and went over them.
We knew that Boykin would be a challenge because of what he can do with his feet, but if he can make decisions like this in the pass game, this Texas Tech defense is going to be challenged in a mighty way here this afternoon. Great reaction. There's a lot of energy in that young man.
That's one of the things also that Gary Patterson told us. I want a lot of energy. That doesn't necessarily mean a lot of noise. It just means a lot of energy in the stadium. Not just as players, of course. He met the fans as well.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's not just showing up in a conference like this. The home team has to show up with fans that make a difference in the outcome. And it's the energy, not just the noise, as you stated, Dave.
Well, hello, Texas Tech. Welcome back to Fort Worth. It's been a little while since you've been here. In fact, the last time they were here, they didn't score a touchdown.
12-3. That was a Mike Leach offense. The offense today for Texas Tech obviously is going to have a better result than that.
That game was 12-3. TCU won it. And they'll take the touchback and take the football to the 25-yard line. And we'll get a look at Seth Doege, the graduate. Excellent student, and he's turned into an excellent quarterback.
He really has. Doege is seasoned. He's a veteran that has a lot of starts under his belt, and the thing that he can do is manipulate a defense with his eyes. In this pass offense, they want to run it more effectively today, and because they're down and really 3 out of their top 5 receivers aren't going to play today, so I would think a little more emphasis on the running game at some point in time.
They've lost Javon Bell and Bradley Marquez for the season, and their tremendous tight end, Jay Samaro, not able to play after taking an extremely hard hit in the win over West Virginia last week. And Doege, a little bit high on the pass. Jason Verrett in coverage that time, number 2 for the purple-clad Horned Frogs. As we show you Tommy Tuberville in his 3rd season at Texas Tech. And no question that last week was the biggest win he has had in Lubbock. And that game wasn't even close.
That was almost a perfect game played on both sides of the ball, especially defensively, where you see the major improvement for Tuberville's team this year.
2nd down and 10. Running back Kenny Williams, it'll be 3rd down and 10.
And I think if Texas Tech cannot run the football effectively today, they're going to have issues in the pass game, because Gary Patterson's defense on the back end is very complicated, and they're getting very comfortable with one another this year.
Well, there's a clash right there to keep an eye on. Texas Tech, the best in the country in 3rd down conversions at 57%. TCU, pretty nasty. 24% 3rd down. So Dale Foster in the backfield alongside Doege. This from the edge. Picked up. Doege to take a deep shot. Well covered that time. A little bit of a push actually by the intended receiver, Darren Moore, but Kevin White had him completely walled off.
And that's what I'm talking about on the back end. And Moore is going to the post. Eventually, you can see him on the outside. He's going to break in. But the corner keeps inside leverage. And that's with TCU bringing pressure on that particular play as well. They brought a 5th and 6th guy up front. Still got great coverage on the back end.
So TCU forces their 35th 3 and out so far this season. They're averaging almost 6 per game. That's in the top 5 in the NCAA. And Sky Dawson awaits the punt from Ryan Ertzleben. Yes, and that's a tremendous return of almost 14 yards for Sky Dawson. Well, we have a great one today. We've got more football coming for you tonight on ABC's Saturday Night Football. Many will see ACC rivals clash and Jimbo Fisher's well-balanced offense and the stingy defense leave the Seminoles in the hostile territory against the U. Others will see Baylor battle Mac Brown's 25th ranked Longhorns. Saturday Night Football presented by Windows 8. Florida State, Miami, Baylor, Texas tonight at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ABC and ESPN3. Well, if you're Gary Patterson, the guy who likes to control things as all head coaches do, can you ask for anything more than this?
He talked about a quick start Offensive coordinator Jared Anderson talked about a quick start and a really good start for this young quarterback to gain rhythm and confidence.
This time it's Matthew Tucker. He's flung down at the 41-yard line. Fans here thought that might have been a horse collar tackle. But Cody Davis, who was the leading tackler for Texas Tech, had a huge game last week against West Virginia.
Cody Davis coming down to fill that alley from his safety position, and I think they had reason to be booing here in the stadium. That looked like a horse collar outside, but Cody Davis, I think, eventually is going to be the guy that TCU targets in that play-action passing game. He's a very good tackler, very aggressive in run support. Look for them to go over top of him eventually in that play-action passing game.
And Tucker's had some ankle issues, and you see he checked out of the game. Zone read again by Boykin. He has really got some ability to avoid tacklers and slide safely at the 50-yard line for a first down. 8 of 10.
He might have gone for more than that, but he blew a tire on that first broken tackle. But again, inside, defensive tackle jumps down on the running back, and then it's the ability to get yards after contact. Remember, he was practicing at running back. He's 6'2", almost 220 pounds. He's going to run through arm tackles all day long.
Catalon gets out of the backfield. It's empty. 5 catch is made for 5. Josh Boyce, his 31st catch of the year. He's an outstanding receiver and actually sees a little bit of time at running back when TCU gets near the goal line. So it's second down and about 5 as Jarvis Phillips made the stop. This time it's Catalon bouncing off one of his blockers. If he can get to the edge, he can really go, but Texas Tech closed it quickly. Third down and about 3.5 coming up. Well, Texas Tech has made some changes. Hiring of Art Kaufman as defensive coordinator is the biggest one. But to go from 114th where they were last year to where they are now, number 4, and they had a lot of players come back too, which certainly helped.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing, is the front 7 is much more seasoned this year than they were a year ago. But he also simplified things. He said if we can keep it simple, our guys can play fast and play with more confidence. So far, so good.
Out of the empty backfield, Boykin gets rid of it quickly, and it's incomplete. P.J. Catalon was the intended receiver. So now do you do the short punt here, Kelly? That appears to be the choice.
And I think Catalon, that young running back who's gotten a lot more time than was expected, needs to get both hands up on that football. Tried to one-hand it. You're not a wide receiver making a play deep in the end zone, young man. Get your both hands on that football. Ethan
Perry, a freshman from Spring Branch, Texas, number 3 in the nation in punting average. Doesn't really want to blast one here, though. Suzalik standing at the 10-yard line. Kicking it into a bit of a breeze. He just racked that. He may not have the soft touch just yet, so it'll be a touchback. And remember, only on kickoffs the touchback to the 25, so it'll be Texas Tech ball at the 20. The number 1 team in the country is on ESPN tonight. A.J. McCarron leads the Crimson Tide's well-balanced attack into Knoxville, facing Tyler Bray and a Vols team that really needs a big win. It's the latest chapter of the 3rd Saturday in October. College football primetime presented by Hampton Hotels. Number 1 Alabama versus Tennessee tonight at 7 on ESPN, and also you can catch it on the Watch ESPN app. Had a chance to see Alabama earlier in the year, Kelly. They look like an NFL team.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. They ought to be playing on Sundays.
Many of them will be. Kenny Williams is the back at the top of the pistol. As we welcome you to Amon G. Carter Stadium on the campus of TCU in Fort Worth. This is a huge Big 12 matchup. Second possession for Texas Tech. TCU drove down the field on their first to take this lead. Both teams ranked in the top 25 of the BCS. Both 2-1 in the Big 12 conference. The winner has a chance for the conference title, while the loser will be thinking about, can we get to 6 wins? Both teams have some monstrous games left on their schedule. I'm Dave Lamont, along with Kelly Stoffel. We thank you for joining us. What a beautiful day in Fort Worth. No chance of rain, and no chance of that pass being completed. Knocked down by Jason Barrett. His second pass broken up as Kelly takes us through our impact players. Brought to you by Chick-fil-A. First for the Red Raiders.
Keep an eye on Kenny Williams, number 34, because they are going to need to run the ball effectively today. But the defensive guys, the disruptor up front, number 91 and Hyder, and then Davis. He's a fundamental tackle waiting to happen. We've already seen him make an impact this afternoon.
Texas Tech went 3 and out on their first drive. They're facing 3rd down and 8 right here. Pressure from the corner. They go on the left. And there once again is Verrett. Sadale Foster unable to even get to the line of scrimmage. And it's another 3 and out.
Verrett has been covering man-to-man really, really well, but this time he's going to fire right off the corner. Very well timed, and it's really a run blitz in the end. But then he pursues the ball, finds the ball, big play once again. But Verrett is showing up early in this game. Great man-to-man coverage and bump and run outside, kind of to the boundary. But then he fires off the corner and makes a big play on 3rd down.
Sky Dawson's a very dangerous punt returner. 17.4 coming in. He's already had 1 for 14. Now this is a line drive punt, and he's just going to wave everybody off. And that's going to be a big roll for Ryan Erksleben. Ball inside the 20, so TCU's 3rd drive begins with their worst field position here on a gorgeous day. Now TCU on their first drive went down, and Kelly in 4 plays, they wind up in the end zone.
Yeah, the young quarterback at Boykin makes a nice read and gets it to Sky Dawson, and the young man understands they have to get off to a good start. Well, you throw it like he threw it on that drive, and you run it like he ran it on that drive. That's how he gets himself off to a good start. This
time he starts at the 19-yard line, his own. Andre Dean, former UCLA Bruin, is now in the backfield. Number 30, he'll get the handoff. And he will be swamped. That's going to be a loss of a couple of yards. Immediate contact by the center of the defense. Middle linebacker Will Smith, the junior college transfer, one of many, as being Chick-fil-A breaks to start TCU impact play.
I think Kenny Kane in the middle is going to be huge when the defense is on the field. But Boyce is that big play guy outside, and number 95, Fields, is going to have a big day off the edge. Mapunga, the other defensive end, is not starting today. Actually, he's not going to play at all. So Fields has to pick up that void in production.
Yeah, both teams impacted by injuries. TCU on the defensive side, as well as Texas Tech. We'll explain in a moment. As Boykin goes deep down the field, and it's going to be incomplete. Not playing today for Texas Tech is their senior cornerback, Cornelius Douglas. So that's going to put Bruce Jones, number 24, into the lineup.
And one of the challenges today is going to see how Boyce and the other wide receivers get off press man-to-man coverage. That was actually more of a bail technique. And that's the other thing that Texas Tech likes to do outside. They will press man, bump and run once in a while, and then bail. The communication between quarterback and receiver is going to have to be very tight today.
3rd down and a dozen. This has been the toughest down and distance for TCU so far, other than 1st and 15, which was on their opening drive, and they overcame it. Flings it, and it's going to be intercepted. That's DJ Johnson, has a chance to score if he gets a block. Gets inside the 10. DJ Johnson with just the 8th takeaway. There's a flag down and around the 19-yard line. Let's see if there was a penalty during the return. Our Big 12 officiating crew is headed by the referee, Cooper Castleberry.
A block below the waist on their intercepting team. It's a 10-yard penalty, and it's 1st down.
So that does not change the turnover, and Texas Tech gets their first big break.
Well, Texas Tech was showing pressure initially right here, but they're going to back out, and then eventually the in route into a zone. And I think this is the most difficult thing for the young quarterback. Thinking he's getting pressure, he doesn't get it, and then he throws across the middle of the field late. It actually ended up being man-to-man with the safety deep over the middle. In the end, very well thrown by a young quarterback remaining in the pocket. His receiver in Cam White just did not bail him out on that particular play.
So with the penalty, the ball is marked back at the TCU 33-yard line. Kenny Williams is the running back. He gets a chance here. Try to run him downhill. He is flipped at the 30-yard line. So it'll be 2nd down and 7. Alicia Olabode in there on the stop. Also John Kuntz in it. With Mapunga out, John Kuntz getting a chance, number 97 at defensive end, to be the rushing partner of Devontae Fields.
This is where Gary Patterson's defense have really made hay, is in that quick change type of situation where your offense turns it over. You have to keep the defense either off the board or certainly or that offense out of the end zone.
That's going to be caught. 1st down. Is he inbounds? Yes. Adam Zuzalik, the senior from Lubbock, with his 4th catch on the season, brought down by Chris Hackett.
Zuzalik, the slot receiver, runs the corner route and then breaks it off really to the out route at the very end. The outside receiver was coming inside, and that's a matchup that I think Texas Tech's going to take advantage of.
Short gain there, bring up 2nd down and about 8.
I think Texas Tech trying to pick up the tempo just a little bit. We were talking at the break that they seem somewhat lethargic, especially offensively. Go up tempo to try to get this team excited and get this ball in the end zone.
My question is, how do you come out lethargic?
Exactly. I don't understand that at all. It's all about the chemistry and makeup of your team, but Texas Tech needs to figure it out.
Could it be a hangover from that win last week? Maybe not. Nice little touch there by Doege, and inside the 5 and into the end zone. Touchdown. Jakeem Grant, did he make it or not? Let's see. No, they're not going to say a touchdown. They're going to say he was out, even though he made contact with the pylon inside the 1, maybe about 6-10 inches away. He got through the grasp of Kenny Kane and nearly got in the end zone.
Yeah, Grant is their scat back, and eventually he's going to be matched up right there over the middle. That's a mismatch. The scat back, 5'6", 160-pound Grant, he actually is their fly sweep guy. They get him touches so they can get him out in space.
Watch his hand.
It has to be the ball that hits the pylon, and I think the ball is in the other hand.
And the replay official didn't. No gain. In fact, that's a significant loss. Back to the 6-yard line is Joel Hasley, the leading tackler for Dick Bumpus' defense and Gary Patterson's defense, of course. 2nd down and goal now from about the 6.
But I think you're right, Dave. If Grant would have switched the ball to the inside hand, if the ball hits that pylon at all, if he's not out of bounds with his body first, it's a touchdown. But I think it was his left hand without the football.
But if he switches hands, he's got the ball in hand. Good technique. So, yeah, so tough call for the official. It looks like they made the right one. Texas Tech takes advantage of the turnover with Eric Ward getting the 6.
Eric Ward, the receiver right here, eventually is going to go over top after this defender steps down inside. Very well executed, and once again, the quarterback does a great job of drawing attention to the underneath receiver, knowing that he has Ward over the top in the back of the end zone.
6 plays, 33 yards, and 247 set up by the interception by DJ Johnson. And this game shows that Texas Tech may have been lethargic at the beginning, but a gift from TCU, and the Red Raiders take advantage. Eric Ward's 6th touchdown catch of the season.
ESPN's College Football on ABC, brought to you by K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K. And Chevy. From kickoff to the last yard, Chevy runs deep.
Texas, indeed, the cradle of football champions, is here at Fort Worth. They ask you to fear the frog. There's your score and time. And can we have a moment of silence for the demise of Big Tex? You see what happened?
No, I did not.
The iconic statue, yes, the Texas State Fair, that iconic statue burned, and I mean burned down to the frame. And they vowed to rebuild it and get it back up for the next Texas State Fair. Certainly hope so. That is because when watching the news, people were genuinely, I understand, shook up by it. Another touchback, so TCU would take over at the 25-yard line. We'll find out if Trevon Boykin can recover from the mistake that led to the Texas Tech touchdown and a tie game. Here's a good look at Amon G. Carter Stadium, which underwent significant renovations over the past couple of years and is just a stunning showplace now for college football, right in the heart of the TCU campus. Boykin, he'll hang on to it and gets spun around and slung down at around the 27-yard line by Dartwan Bush, a junior from Clute, Texas. So it'll be 2nd down, and they're going to give him about 7.5 to go.
We should expect TCU to really want to run the football. I mean, they're very balanced typically anyway, but I think Boykin brings that dimension to the table that the quarterbacks in the past really haven't. He's a dynamic runner. Remember, 2 weeks ago, he was a running back, not a quarterback in that sense. So look for them to accentuate that skill set out of him.
I'm curious to see how he recovers from the adversity of the interception. We'll try to touch pass. This one, drops and bites off the defensive back. Made the catch in midfield, got into Texas Tech territory, but there are flags all over the field.
When TCU has the advantage outside and Boykin can find the one-on-one matchup, that's exactly what they want to do. The question...
Pass interference by number 21 of the defense. The penalties decline. It's first down.
Offensive coordinator Jared Anderson said the question is whether we can get off bump and run. You can see the bump and run from the inside, and there is absolutely grabbing all over the place by Phillips, number 21, from that inside slot coverage position.
27-yard gain puts it at the 46-yard line of the Red Raiders. Again, Boykin working that zone read. Has some room if he can get all the way to the left, and he just decides, no, that's enough of that. I'll take a big loss. It'll be second down and about 15 here as the Red Raiders forced him out of his comfort zone there.
And this is where Boykin is going to have to realize I'm not in high school anymore. I can make plays like that against guys on Friday night, but Saturday afternoon in this conference, it's few and far between. He has to understand, get as much as you can. Don't always try to hit the home run. Keep yourself in an advantage down in distance position. Mistake by him on that play.
This time he hands it off. It's a big play for Dean. Dean inside the 20. He'll be hit and down at the 15-yard line. Andre Dean, who had part of a huge rushing attack last week, 248 against Baylor, gets a big first down and a gain of 37.
The advantage of having a quarterback that can keep it, people really actually forget about the running backs that they can carry right here. Those guys are very good up inside. They've been banged up, but they're starting to hit their stride. And Dean is a big-time player that's just finally, as a senior, coming into his own.
Senior from Katy, Texas, had been at UCLA. Didn't like things after Rick Neuheisel was let go and transferred back. Jay Catalan. Very little there as the middle of the Texas Tech defense bows up. So we'll call it maybe a half a yard. Second down and still about 9.
And I think TCU's advantage in running the football are plays that include Boykin as an option. If they just lather up and try to run it up inside, the Tech's defense in front 7 is much more mature and physical this year than a year ago. Include your quarterback as a viable option, and this running game has opportunities here this afternoon.
Matthew Tucker now, number 29. He'll slip out of the backfield for the pass, but there is no pass. Not sure of Boykin, and he seems to be a little bit shaken up as he was brought down by Kerry Hyder, a player that we identified earlier as somebody with an impact in this game, and he looked like he was pounding the turf. That might just have been in frustration, not pain.
Yeah, he actually looked a little hobbled in a couple plays before. We'll need to keep an eye on that, but Hyder is the guy coming from the inside. He's the disruptor from that 3-technique defensive tackle position, and something didn't look right on that play. Boyce didn't even move, and Sky Dawson acted like he was going to block for a bubble screen and then went to the corner.
Third down, 15, and 0 for 2 third down so far for TCU. There's a bubble screen right there, caught by Boyce, and he won't get anywhere near the first down. So the Texas Tech defense, after being gashed by the long run by Andre Dean, comes back. Pete Robertson, one-time linebacker, now playing defensive end. There he is right there, number 10, in there on the tackle. So the first time we'll see Jaden Oberchrome, who's 8 for 10 this year, the freshman kicker, not too far away, Arlington, Texas. 32 yards for Oberchrome, who hasn't missed a PAT this season. And he nails it. So 32 yards for Oberchrome. TCU able to come back after turning the ball over and giving up a touchdown. They get on the board and retake the lead. There's your score and time. TCU comes back with a 32-yard field goal. And that looks like a Zamboni, but there's no ice here. So I'm not sure what that is, but it's unique.
That's the frog. That's what the frog looks like.
That's a purple horned frog. This is Kelly Stauffer. I'm Dave Lamont. Thank you very much for joining us. What have you seen so far that stood out to you?
I like the young quarterback. I think he's really found his groove a little bit from that first start that was a little bit shaky. And I think defensively, Tech was kind of on their heels. They looked much better on that last drive.
Janelle Foster gets it out to the 26-yard line. There is a flag down behind that return. And this game carries a lot of impact. Both these teams 2-1. Texas Tech coming in off that gigantic domination.
Holding
of West
by number
Virginia.
86 on the return team. Penalties half the distance to the goal, and it's a first down.
And that little shake of the head by Tommy Tuberville says it all. You talked at the beginning of the broadcast how they seemed, Texas Tech, to be a little bit lethargic. Do you get that sense now?
I think there seems to be a little more energy, but this is kind of their MO, and we can't really explain it. There's no reason for it. A huge win a week ago, and they look lethargic today. Remember Oklahoma last year, a huge upset, and then they look abysmal the rest of the year. No real explanation, but they need to pick it up early.
They didn't win another game after beating Oklahoma last season. Of course, every Texas Tech fan just threw their remote at the TV for us bringing that up, but it was a bad way to end what might have been a good year. So with the penalty, bad field position, but the Red Raiders are at their own 6-yard line. And they've got to hurry and get the snap off. They do. Landed safe on the ground with Eric Stevens Jr., and he is hit after picking up a couple of yards. It'll be second down and about 8. Stevens coming off a disastrous knee injury a year ago in the game against Texas A&M. And he sometimes lines up as the Wildcat, but in this case, he's just trying to get him out of trouble.
And TCU and Gary Patterson's approach is basically to snuff out the run and then to force offenses to make hay in a complicated system on the back end. And TCU hasn't let anybody run the football on them this year. And
they're not going to run the football on them in the final seconds of this quarter either. It's going to be a long jog for both teams to get down to the other end. TCU scored on their first drive and then gave it up, allowing Texas Tech to get what was a tying score until TCU was able to come back to get the field goal. We've seen some good quarterback play and some spotty quarterback play from both Boykin and Doege. We'll see what happened in quarter number 2. Well, you think about football in Texas and all the rivalries. This used to be a regular meet back in the old Southwest Conference days. Texas Tech and TCU battled regularly. Of course, the Southwest Conference no longer. You lose track of the names after a while, but we know it now as the Big 12. And both coaches talking about this game and the significance of it, and also the fan bases. Folks from Lubbock coming in there. There's a good example right there. And Texas Tech and TCU side by side. Not a red in here, but it's dominated by the purple. Second and 8. Stevens clears out of the backfield. And underneath, and Barrett has had a great start to the game as he makes the stop on Grant. There you see the series history. They have not met since '06. Of course, now they're going to meet every year. Texas Tech leads the all-time series, and it goes back to the 1920s. And since that Southwest Conference came apart in '95, it's just the second time they have played. Third down and about 4. Doege taking plenty of time here, Kelly. They have changed the play. He's got trips to his left. And it's going to be third down and 9.
A false start by number 65 of the offense. The 5-yard penalty, and it's still third down.
A little bit of confusion there?
Yeah, I think so. I think he was trying to get out of the play to take advantage of the pressure that TCU was going to bring, but the young man outside and Waddle just couldn't quite hold his water. And you punch a little bit at 330, a whole lot moves.
Third down and 9. Handles the high snap. They go on the ground. Stevens has a little bit of room here, but maybe made one too many steps. And Alessio Laboda in there on the stop, the junior from Cedar Hill, Texas.
And Olabode is that safety that has to fill that alley once he knows that the running back has the ball. And this is very important. Tackling against Texas Tech is huge. Not only their slot receivers that get yards after the catch, but it's also yards after contact by those speed backs, of which Eric Stevens is one.
So Ryan Erxleben standing in between the F and the R and Frogs, kicking to Sky Dawson. We talked already that he is very dangerous, but Erxleben's averaging 55 yards his first 2 punts. Dawson is lightning fast. Gets to the 35, inside there to the 32, maybe even the 31-yard line. We can see why Sky Dawson has such a gaudy average of 17 yards per return. That one, 21. This is Stauffer speed.
And he really trusted his blockers up front. It was almost like running a zone play. It wasn't a return middle, right, or left. It was actually just get a hat on a hat and then let Dawson create his own space. And he's obviously really, really good at that.
Take a look at our Pacific Life game summary on this perfect day in Fort Worth, Texas, in the Metroplex. TCU, with this crowd already jacked up, went 4 plays, 75 yards for the opening touchdown, but that turnover allowed Texas Tech to get back in this football game at a point when it looked like it wasn't going to happen for them, at least early on. Gave them a rallying point. That's going to be second down after the run by Catalan. Picked up 4 there, so we'll call it second down and 6. But you think about this game, I know we can't think about it without the turnover, but that's the only time that Texas Tech has really done anything on offense was that short drive.
You're right. I think they're having a difficult time figuring out what Gary Patterson and that defense is doing on the other side. They're defending the run well, but they're also playing really good coverage on the back end.
Dean clears out. They stay on the ground with Catalan. Gets across the 25. Now we're looking at third down and about 2.5 yards. So it gets in between the 23 and 24-yard lines.
And that's exactly what offensive coordinator Jared Anderson wants, is just make good decisions from the quarterback position and put us in a position to move the chains on third down. This is third and extremely manageable right here.
Maybe Boykin to run here?
I like that a lot. If not, at least the threat to run has a big impact on the defense.
And instead he hands off to Dean. Dean will not get there. You see 16, Cody Davis. And he is joined by Dartwan Bush. So now here's an interesting call with Gary Patterson. 4th down and a yard.
TCU gets big and brings in a couple of tight ends, actually an extra running back and another tight end to try to mush it up in there. But I think Gary Patterson knows that he's probably going to need more points than this, so they're going for it right here.
These are two defensive-oriented teams in an offensive-oriented conference on 4th downs this year. 6 out of 13, TCU.
Boykin underneath center for the first time today.
And hang on, it's a called timeout.
Their first time out of the half.
That's a look that TCU wasn't comfortable with. We'll see their decision when we return. There's your score and time. Following the timeout, TCU comes out in a different formation, Kelly. Now Boykin, and now we're going to have a timeout from Texas Tech.
Texas Tech calls their first time out of the half.
So each team has 2 left.
It's kind of like the use of a
30-second timeout.
Timeout in basketball. You see what they're going to run and you call timeout and go try to defend it. But when Boykin is underneath the center, they really like speed option. They just take it to the edge as quickly as possible. But that time, it's more of a power set with 2 powerful running backs in the backfield with Boykin at the same time.
TCU's given it 2 different looks. Now we'll see if he's under center or going to take a shotgun snap. Well, I'll tell you what, BCS Countdown is on, and it's on ESPN and ESPNU tomorrow. Our analysts break down the key victories and defeats that took place in college football and discuss their impact on the standings, who rises, who falls. And we look at the key matchups for next week. BCS Countdown at 8:30 and at 9, presented by Tostitos. Tomorrow on ESPN and ESPNU. You think of Texas Tech, they had an impact already on the BCS. Here we go, 4th and 1 that we think. Full backfield. May have done it by Matthew Tucker. We saw Tucker let off a little bit earlier, and he does get the first down.
And it was actually the same play they ran on 3rd and short. After the 2 timeouts, they went to something totally different. Just the zone read. You get the soft play by the defensive end, the give up inside. Not very well blocked, but tremendous effort by Tucker to convert at the end.
Fresh set it down to the 20-yard line for TCU. Team at 17 touchdowns out of 30 appearances in the red zone coming into the game.
The ruling on the field that there was enough yardage made for a first down. The previous play is under further review.
Aha. So the replay official, David Ames, wants to take a little bit of a closer look. Appeared to us at first blush that he made it.
Yeah, I think the second effort, right there he wasn't going to get it. Right there I think he has it, but certainly the extension at the end, he goes almost down to the 15-yard line. I think that's or the 20-yard line. I think that's a no-brainer.
But here's the thing, if you saw his knee, I think he got it, but they may bring the ball back a little bit. It looked like,
I think you might be right, but it's certainly no question whether he got enough for the first down or not.
yeah, I think he did. I agree with you there, because you could see before his knee hit, he was at the marker, and the ball was at the marker. So we'll get a couple of good looks at it right here.
And Tucker represents that dependable factor that they've been lacking in the backfield. I don't see a knee down right there. I think it's ball and then backside. I think that's marked pretty accurately at the 20-yard line.
Yeah, now that I look at it again, I think you're right. I think the officials were dead on the field.
But Dave, remember what TCU thought they would have at their disposal.
After further review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. First down.
Yeah, confirmed, so they were very certain about it. But they expected to have Ed Wesley, who is no longer in school. Then Wayman James went down with a knee injury against Kansas early in the year. Tucker has been dinged up this year. If Tucker can get back and get healthy, along with Boykin, the running game's on the table.
Out of bounds. Let's go to Robert Flores with the Sports Center right now. Robert?
All right, guys, and it's presented by HP. Update from the SEC, where number 2 Florida leading South Carolina, ranked number 7 in the BCS standings, 7-3. Jeff Driscoll to Jordan Reed, second quarter. And despite spotting number 18 Texas A&M, a 12-0 deficit, number 6 LSU comes back to win 24-19. Back to beautiful Fort Worth.
Now, we were watching the LSU Texas A&M game with great interest. Now we've got one here we're watching with great interest. Second down and 3 following the Boykin run. And hold on everything. It'll be second down and 8 following the false start.
A false start by number 66 of the offense. It's a 5-yard penalty, and it's still second down.
Well, this offense had been fairly rhythmic up to this drive, and they've fallen off the edge of the earth.
Well, I want to ask you about Boykin on that last play. He appeared like he went through every read conceivable and then decided to take off. And I thought that was a good decision because he didn't try to force it.
Yeah, I think in the end it was probably a good decision. Where he was late was a seam route by Carter, wide open down the middle, but I think he was still outside in his progression and didn't see the wide open receiver running down the middle of the field.
Boykin's just in his third start as the quarterback for Gary Patterson's Horned Frogs, and he gets down to the 15-yard line. Casey Paul was the starting quarterback actually when the season began, but he ran into some difficulties off the field and ended up leaving the team to go into rehab. We wish him well. And so
Boykin is all on this side of the field right here, but I think this is the problem that Boykin has. How quickly does he get through the progression, and can he find the open guy? The open guy was outside as his outlet receiver, and he simply got off his outlet way too early.
Empty backfield on 3rd and 5. We haven't had a third down conversion yet until now. Getting inside the 5-yard line is Josh Boyce. The junior from Copperas Cove, Texas, brought down by Eugene Nebo. Inside the 5, first and goal TCU.
And Boykin was very good last week, and Boyce is on the outside and is going to come in and just try to convert those natural picks. The 2 outside receiver or inside receivers going outside, and Boyce finds the void inside. Last week against Baylor, that's where the young quarterback Boykin was really, really solid.
Unbelievable numbers.
Look at
third
that.
down.
That's unreal.
Yeah, that's something that not even an Aaron Rodgers can pull off all that often. Although I'm sure he has. First look on 1st and goal. Matthew Tucker. Right ahead, good old-fashioned dive play. And TCU opens up a 9-point lead.
And Tucker is that drive finisher that this run offense for TCU has lacked. That might be reviewed as well, although the kick is going off right now, so we're not going to see it anyway.
That was as fast as you can get a PAT team out
Run
of here,
tempo on the point after touchdown.
I don't care what the replay official may have thought, or what we may have thought. It's a touchdown in the books for Matthew Tucker, his second rush touchdown on the season. And TCU has command, up by 10.
ESPN's College Football on ABC, brought to you by Goodyear, chosen for superior performance. Goodyear, more driven. And Taco Bell, sometimes you gotta live más.
This is homecoming week for TCU, and there's some of the parade. You see a little bit of Amon G. Carter Stadium in the background there. Right through the heart of campus. Don't mess with TCU into the moment. Texas Tech isn't messing with TCU, and that's why they're down 10. The Tucker 1-yard touchdown run, 8 plays, 31 yards, and 443. And don't forget the contribution to punt return by Sky Dawson, because Dawson was able to give TCU that great field position. Bit of a breezy day. The last couple of days it's been eerily calm, but now some of the famed Texas winds kicking up a little bit here, and the second time the ball has gone off the tee.
I think the second time they make the kicker kick the ball on the ground. We don't need that kind of delay.
Now, trotting in the holder here. So Dale Foster and Jordan Davis back deep. And no matter who holds it, whether it's a tee or a human, it is a touchback. There's a flag down, however, at the 40-yard line. So hang on a second. Maybe we have an offsides.
Offsides on the kicking team. It's a 5-yard penalty, and it's first down.
All right, we talked a little bit about Casey Paul Hall. Here's the whole story that Gary Patterson and his staff had to deal with. Paul Hall was suspended indefinitely. He was hit on a suspicion of DWI charge and is entered a rehab facility. Did so about 10 days ago. What does it mean for TCU? Well, he saw the start he got off to statistically. He was a great quarterback for them last year as well. So what turmoil that TCU had to deal with, this coming in the middle of a game week prior to Iowa State.
Yeah, 2 days before they kicked off that game. That was unbelievable.
Now it's Texas Tech trying to deal with it. Is able to, and that tackle comes way out of bounds, and there's a flag, but the flag is at the 20-yard line. Zuzalik made the catch. But let's see what the flag is first.
Personal foul, roughing the passer by number 36 of the defense. It's a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
Joe Hasley, the middle linebacker, or actually one of two linebackers in this 4-2-5 alignment of Gary Patterson's hit with that. It was Jonathan Anderson who tackled Zuzalik about 5 yards out of bounds. No flag was thrown there, but Doege took a hit, and now Texas Tech suddenly, with that completion and the penalty, is at the TCU 45-yard line. And Doege hit as he throws that time. Great read by the receiver, Darren Moore, but there's a flag down. He may have pushed off.
Yeah, I think you might be right. The underthrown fade route, and Moore, I think the big-bodied receiver pushed off of number 25, Kevin White, on that particular play. I think you got it exactly right.
Pass interference by number 14 of the offense. The 15-yard penalty and replay first down.
What happened is that I don't think this throw was deliberately underthrown, but Doege got popped as he threw it.
Yeah, just caught some air. You can see the matchup down here, and at the very end, it's going to be well underthrown, and the big receiver in Moore just kind of pushes off somewhat instinctively right there at the very end. When your feet are stopping, sometimes as a receiver, your hands go out, and Doege's starting to get some pressure in the pocket. TCU's getting to him, just rushing 4 up front.
So now it's 1st and 25, and they're back in their own territory on the Red Raiders at the 40. Empty backfield. Middle of the field is open, and Big saving tackle that time by Jonathan Anderson. And Kelly, we had a long talk about this yesterday, that the TCU defense, sometimes the middle of the field is vulnerable.
Yeah, and receiver's going to come into here, and you're right. If it isn't for the sure tackle from Anderson, the safety right on the hash, this goes for a touchdown. And I think that's the combo type of routes where the routes are being adjusted by the receivers on the fly. Right now, youngsters on the back end for TCU can drop communication.
2nd and 12 after the 13-yard gain, and there is Uzalik again. Hackett on the shove out of bounds. That's going to be a first down for the Red Raiders. Inside the 35 down to the 33. All right. Very excited about this week's trivia question. Name the TCU grad who once held the NFL record for highest punting average in a career.
That is your name written all over.
Well, it's not me is the answer, that's for sure. Doege now going for the end zone. Moore battling again. Makes the catch, and he is in. He and Kevin White hand fighting for position down there. No flags. 31 yards. We have certainly learned that Darren Moore is a physical receiver.
Yeah, 6'4", almost 220 pounds, and Doege does a nice job of pinpointing who's matched up man-to-man. The fade right outside, and if the prior one was pass interference offensively, that one certainly was. You can see the left hand push off by White on White right at the very end. I think Moore got away with one.
Ryan busted in now for the PAT. So it's a 4-play, 71-yard drive, and we wondered how Texas Tech can respond to adversity. And so far, they've done a nice job coming back to make this a 3-point game with another touchdown pass for Seth Doege. Only Geno Smith has thrown more coming into today's game. Well, maybe this is going to be a typical Big 12 game after all. All the talk of these two teams having their outstanding defenses. And here you see Texas Tech able to come back on a 4-play, 71-yard drive. Darren Moore, who factored against his team with an offensive pass interference penalty, caught the touchdown from Seth Doege. Doege was only trailing Geno Smith for most touchdown passes thrown this season.
And I think that's a matchup that we need to keep our eye on. More on Kevin White, number 25, I think is what Doege likes right now.
Doege now 1 touchdown and an onside kick. So Tommy Tuberville goes into the playbook, waiting for a signal. Texas Tech says they have it. And so do the officials. That's not something you expect.
And I think Texas Tech has finally gotten the wake-up call. They look like they're playing with a lot more energy. Very well executed right there. Remember, it has to go 10 yards, and TCU comes in and touches it right before that point, and then the ball comes out. Very well executed. The element of surprise by Texas Tech.
That was a nice job by the kicker, Kramer Fife, because he's the one who broke it up and allowed it to be recovered by Texas Tech. And it looked like that was Summit Hogue who may have gotten that. So look at this, from the 49-yard line, first down and 10. And Doege will take off. He had a little bit of success running against West Virginia's defense last week. Flag down behind the play. Doege gets into TCU territory, but let's see what the flag is. A little trash talking now going on between the TCU bench and some
holding.
of the Texas Tech
Number
players.
68 of the offense. The 10-yard penalty, and it's still first down.
That's on Terry McDaniel, the senior.
I think it was holding number 57, Pearson, the defensive tackle for TCU. A lot of times when a quarterback gets outside the pocket somewhat unexpectedly, that's what you see out of in man on the line of scrimmage, the tackles. Outside right there, you have to know when to hold them. You have to know when to let him go, and the big boy outside from McDaniels didn't quite get the memo.
I'm just so happy you didn't say no when to fold.
I would not do that to you.
20. Doege now 9 of his last 10 with 2 touchdowns. Make it 10 of 11. Not a touchdown here, but a nice pass to Darren Moore. Not afraid to go across the middle. And they get a little bit of that penalty yardage back at the 47-yard line. It'll be second down and about 13 to go. It's Chris Hackett, the weak safety, which does not apply his ability, but his position on the field makes stop.
Early in this game, Doege was trying to find 18 Eric Ward, and right now he likes what he's seeing out of Darren Moore on the other side. Eric Ward was matched up on Barrett, and Barrett has totally shut him down. This is Barrett down on Moore at the bottom of the screen now.
Looking left, now looking toward Moore again, but throws over the umpire, and a diving catch made by number 3, Tyson Williams. About 4 yards, make it 3 yards short of the marker at the 44-yard line, so it's 3rd down and 3.
Those receivers didn't get more time. Tyson Williams is one of them today. They have to come up big because Marquez, who is out for the year, and Javon Bell, who is also out for the year, represented the speed element in this wide receiver core. Other guys have to step up other than Ward, number 18, and number 14, Darren Moore.
They go Wildcat with Eric Stevens on 3rd down and 3. And we have whistles and a timeout. Red Raiders.
Texas Tech calls their second timeout of the half.
Texas Tech 0 for 3 on 3rd downs. TCU just 1 out of 5. All right, let's get the answer. I've given you folks some time to grab your computers. Name the TCU grad who once held the NFL record for highest punting average in a career. Do you know the answer?
I have no idea. I just know that you came up with something. That's what I know.
Slinging Sammy Baugh. Now, Shane Leckler has since set the record, but that is unbelievable. Sammy Baugh was ahead of his time.
Well, look at that average. It wasn't, 45.1. That was outstanding.
Slinging Sammy, and there you see the indoor practice bubble that is over to our right. A beautiful facility. They're going to be adding some air conditioning to that in another year or so, maybe even less, as the facilities here at TCU have taken a jump up.
Still in the Wildcat by Stevens. You can see right there, dotting the I.
Instead, looks like Foster, and Tennessee has the 1st down at the 40-yard line. So Sadale Foster, the junior college transfer, and that is an interesting point that Tommy Tuberville and his staff, 11 junior college transfers on this team. Not all of them play right away, but here's one of them who has made an impact.
You're right, and Stevens is normally the guy, and he was the guy before the timeout, but Foster, nice play right there to convert.
Doege back in at quarterback, reception, drifting back, has a man open. Kevin White, and he couldn't hang on. He had it, and he could not hang on. Oh, Gary Patterson knows what might have been.
Doege had what he wanted. You can see the 2 verticals outside. The safety jumps on the inside vertical. You're right. Kevin White played it extremely well, except for one thing: you need to finish. That ball was underthrown again by Doege on that particular play.
He had him. Marcus Kennard had a step on the DB there. 2nd down and 10. Doege clumsy with the snap. He's going to have to improvise. And that little fake there, that was cute. Picked up some yards with that. He got 5 out of that, maybe even 6. We'll see if they mark him out of bounds at the 34 or the 35. They're going to say the 35, Kelly. So it's 3rd down and 5. Barrett ran him out of bounds.
Josh Caraway, number 35, is that defensive end that's playing today because Stanley Mapunga is out. They pulled the red shirt off of number 35, and they're going to let him play today. He's the one that lost contain on the quarterback on that particular play.
He becomes the 16th true freshman to play this year for TCU, and that is tops in the NCAA. Doege, and there's Moore again, and that is just past the marker. That's going to be a 1st down for the big receiver from Irving, Texas. And one more time, Barrett, who's having a heck of a game, on the stop.
Yeah, Barrett on the coverage. They decided not to try him up the field on fades and verticals, but run slants underneath and see if he can cover that. Actually, that was very well thrown, very well caught by the receiver, but Barrett had nice coverage also.
On 1st down, nice pocket for Doege to go deep toward the end zone, and an unbelievable grab is made by Eric Ward, out of bounds. They're going to rule him out of bounds. Well, this is exactly what Gary Patterson said was going to happen. Once they got inside the 40, they were going to take their shots.
Yeah, they dink and dunk, and then they play jump ball with those big receivers, and I think he certainly possessed it. but he came down, I believe, out of bounds.
The ruling on the field was an incomplete pass out of bounds. Regis plays under further review.
Side judge is right there.
It's extremely important always to remember how it was called initially. It was ruled out of bounds. I don't know that we're going to see anything that will allow them to have the video evidence.
Yeah, that's
to overturn
exactly.
it.
It's got to be indisputable video evidence, and I'm not sure that's going to happen here. It's an unbelievable catch.
Oh, yeah. The great job by the quarterback, Doege, just giving his receiver a chance to make a play on the ball in the end zone, but does his right elbow come down before his body rolls out of bounds.
That just might be cutting it too fine, Kelly.
Right there.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
You cannot blame the side judge, by the way. If this gets overturned, he did the best he could do. That is tough.
The word is indisputable video evidence that they have to have, and good luck with that. Right there. Look at.
Okay.
There we go.
Yep.
That's the perfect shot. Great work, guys. That is it. I think that's a touchdown.
I do now. You sold it.
He had possession. He took the ball out of bounds.
It's not going to go over very well to his crowd, though.
No, it really isn't.
It's going to put Texas Tech in front if the call is reversed.
But really, that epitomizes what replay is for.
Yeah.
I mean, we get the right camera angle, and remember, there isn't any magic camera at home. The replay booth sees exactly what the fans see and what we see in the booth, and we saw an elbow on the ground denotes possession inbounds. I think this is going to be overturned. And a lot of purple people are not going to be happy about it.
After further review, the receiver's right elbow landed inbounds before he landed out of bounds. It's a touchdown.
Well, there's just a lot of noise in the stadium, period. And there's a few folks in red and black who are pretty happy with this 29-yard touchdown catch.
Very well done all the way around by a great play by Ward to come down with that. Pretty good defense by White. Impeccable job by the officiating crew. That was tough to tell, but they got it right at the end. And I noticed they weren't showing that in the stadium here as that we went to break.
No, they're not going to either. 7 plays, 51 yards, and what's this? Texas Tech has come back, and for the first time, they have the lead in this game. It is a Big 12 football game. Teams throwing it around and moving up and down the field. Eric Ward, what a spectacular play. He knew he had it. My elbow. It was my elbow. Kelly Stauffer said my elbow. Tommy Tuberville's Red Raiders trying to avoid what happened to them last year. They had a big midseason victory against a highly ranked team, and they knocked off Oklahoma and then didn't win another game the rest of the season. Last week, they knocked off West Virginia. They did more than that. They dominated West Virginia, and now here they are, their first lead this afternoon in a Big 12 game against TCU. And a short kickoff taken at the 18-yard line by Josh Boyce. He's a good runner. Flag is down behind the play. Boyce will get into Texas Tech territory, but it may well be erased. And you can see one of the officials coming in with a holding call right there.
Holding on number 14 on the return team. It's a 10-yard penalty, and it's first down.
Well, how did Texas Tech get ahead as that 37-yard return is wiped out? It's our All-State good hands play, and that certainly sums up this catch.
What a tremendous catch. A nice throw. The quarterback, Doege, does a nice job of giving Ward an opportunity at the end. And it was one right elbow down before his buttocks and feet were out of bounds. Very nice catch, but also very well officiated.
That was the All-State good hands and good elbow play. We're able to tuck that elbow down.
Whatever it takes, Dave, as long as it's a touchdown in the end.
You quarterbacks, man.
Big.
That's 3 touchdown passes now for Doege, by the way. And that gives him 24 on the year. B.J. Catalan is the running back. Boykin fakes it to him and dumps it underneath 30-yard line. Now in the shadow. Another tackle by Cody Davis. We have a visit with Robert Flores in the studio. Robert?
All right, guys, Taco Bell studio update. And a big first half for Florida and their quarterback, Jeff Driscoll. He has thrown 3 touchdown passes in the opening half, and Florida is leading South Carolina 21-3 late first half. Meantime, BYU leading number 5 Notre Dame 14-7 in South Bend.
All right, so we come off of that, Robert. Thank you very much. And here at Fort Worth, David G. Carter Stadium at TCU, there's your score and time, and it's going to be 3rd down and about a yard to go. We have a TCU lineman injured on the play. Total yards by quarter. Texas Tech did very little. We talked at the beginning of the show. They appeared lethargic. That is no longer the case. And that's Big Blaze Foltz who's getting up. A weight room destroyer. A young man who squats 800 pounds and benches 580.
That's unbelievable.
I can't.
I mean, that's like a small village somewhere in the country.
Can he? How long does it take just to set up the bench for 580 pounds?
I don't believe it's worth your time.
It's 3rd and 1. You see TCU numbers on 3rd down, and Boykin reads, "I'll keep it," and he did get the first down. He got the 35 before he pivoted back. How about Cody Davis in there with another tackle for Texas Tech, along with Sam Aguavin?
And Cody not only supports incredibly fast, but he is one of the most sure tacklers that I've seen in college football this year.
He is a senior from Stevensville, Texas. From the empty look, Boykin throws, caught. And, well, there you go.
Yeah.
One more time for Davis. The catch was made by Catalan. The first man missed it. Not the case with Cody Davis. 2nd down and a couple.
And because of his desire to support the run, I would expect them to target him in the play-action passing game. We haven't seen that yet.
They go underneath again, and that's going to be a 1st down. Eugene Nebo smothered the receiver, who was Josh Boyce, but a good throw by Boykin and a fine catch by Boyce. You see TCU with 2 timeouts and a minute 38 to go, and now the clock is rolling. Boykin, sidearm. There he is. Another tackle for Cody Davis, but there is another 1st down. And Sky Dawson, who's had an outstanding first half for TCU, makes the 1st down catch.
Where Boykin has really grown is what he's able to do in the pocket, get through your progression, and then throw the ball with confidence. Boom, right there. You can see the sidearm slinger a little bit, but I don't mind that as long as you're accurate on the other end.
Dawson has 5 catches, 89 yards, and a touchdown. Plus, he's been a force on punt returns. And Boykin high. And another 1st down, but Kyer is injured. Got it inside the 25-yard line. Talented sophomore from Euless, Texas. And he's going to try to get out as fast as he can.
Texas Tech is trying to change up between man-to-man principles on the back end, which this is, the deep safety with man-to-man all over the place. And that one was a high, hard one. Carter made an outstanding catch.
One thing, Kelly, Tech is not getting any pressure on him. Fires down. The shadows incomplete. The intended receiver was Dawson. It was Cody Davis in coverage. 2nd down and 10. And the clock is stopped with 39 seconds remaining in this half. This is the previous play with Carter, and it was kind of an awkward fall after a little bit of a shove by the nickelback Trey Porter. Hopefully we'll get this young man back in the game.
Looking like pressure right there. They like it outside, man-to-man.
A little bit of heat, but it's picked up nicely to the end zone. The other two incomplete. 3rd and 10 is next. Sky Dawson had a step, and not surprisingly, the guy has been clocked at 10.29 in the 100 meters.
Boykin actually had his choice of Dawson, which is the one he chose right here, but Boyce was one-on-one outside as well. The heat inside the pocket, pretty well protected. That ball was long gone. And remember, that's the wind at his back, and he didn't account for that, and that ball went well over Dawson on that play.
So 3rd down and 10. A little bit of a late hit low on Boykin after the throw, but no flag. Boykin scrambling into the end zone and missed his man. Overthrew it for Josh Boyce. Coverage that time by Eugene Nebo. So the Texas Tech defense stands tall, and that will bring out the kicker, Jaden Obercrom.
That's one of the last things that young quarterbacks get is touch, especially in the red zone where you need to throw the ball with finesse at times. Those last 2 passes were driven well over the receiver's heads.
Obercrom is 1 for 1 today. This one from 41. No problem. So Jake Overcrow continues to have his fine freshman season. 21-20 Texas Tech. The Red Raiders have one timeout and not much time. So we'll see what Texas Tech decides to do. A lot may depend on what happens with the kickoff, but they haven't run any back yet. I believe they've all been touchbacks so far by this outstanding freshman Overcrow, number 33 for TCU. 22 seconds and a timeout is all that Tommy Tuberville's Red Raiders have. And once again, we lose the ball off the tee. So once again, TCU will have to bring out the holder, Deontay Gray. Leave it to a freshman, of course.
Yeah.
They're not going to put a senior out.
Delay things, you're right.
Yeah.
But this ball, with his strong legs, should go to Arlington.
Well, I mean a freshman to hold it, too. In other words, you're not going to bring a senior
You're
out
asking
to
for
hold.
trouble asking a freshman to hold the ball like this. Well, the first time.
Talking about a touchback. Man, does he have a leg? So now you've got no time taken off the clock and one timeout. Well, ESPN College Football, watch this anywhere. You can see us anytime, anywhere on your computer or mobile device via watchespn.com and the watchespn.com app. It's really cool. ESPN3, we're everywhere. So if you're traveling today, maybe you're in an airport someplace.
But you don't want to miss us, right?
Well, I didn't necessarily mean us. I meant everyone.
No, I mean us.
But us. I don't want anybody to miss us. No, absolutely not. This appears to be a conservative call by Texas Tech, understandably, from the 25-yard line, just to go ahead and take a knee and get out of there. They are ahead by 1 point. It's been a fun first half. Can't wait to see what's going to happen in half number 2. Tommy Tuberville's Red Raiders and Gary Patterson's TCU. Horned Frogs trying to get to 3-1 in the Big 12 and be in the race with K-State. Good football, two good defenses, but it's been an offense-dominated game. Both quarterbacks slinging it around the field, as Sammy Ball once did at TCU. Coming up, our halftime reports. They'll be playing every year now that TCU has joined the Big 12. At halftime, Texas Tech with a 1-point advantage over TCU. With Kelly Stauffer, I'm Dave Lamont. Kelly, two top defenses in the Big 12 statistically, and yet it's been all about the two quarterbacks in this game.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think the first quarter was a good defensive quarter. I think the adjustment went to the offenses in the second quarter. Both quarterbacks are actually doing what they need to do for their teams to win. We'll see how the second half plays out.
Texas Tech will get the football first. And the interesting thing here is also, you take a look at the numbers, the shadows now in the stadium here at Amon G. Carter are certainly going to be a factor for this mid-afternoon coming in the evening game. It's a good look at what you see. And this happened rather dramatically during the halftime show, which was a tick longer than normal. So we'll see how these players handle the sun and the shade combination. We're going to get a touchback here, and it'll be at the 25-yard line for Texas Tech. And let's take a look at our Pacific Life game summary.
I think Boykin has been efficient. That one interception was actually not his fault. It bounced off the hands of the receiver. And TCU wants to be balanced, and they ran the ball pretty efficiently in the first half. We'll see what they get done in the second half. But Doege has been extremely efficient. 13 of 18, 3 touchdowns.
Well, here's an interesting stat, and of course TCU doesn't have the ball right now, but just to go with what you said, Texas Christian, 46 wins in a row when they have more rushing than passing yards. At the moment, they have more passing than rushing. Keep an eye on that for later. Meantime, Doege for Texas Tech into traffic, and a tremendous catch made by Darren Moore. And even though Texas Tech, for a short game, even though Texas Tech is missing Javon Bell, Bradley Marquez, who are out for the season, two wide receivers, and their great tight end, Jay Samaro, the other receivers have indeed stepped up.
They have, and I think the veteran quarterback, Doege, that's where you see his leadership. He has to go to other guys and get them involved in his game plan here this afternoon.
See what's missing from the Texas Tech lineup. No gain, the officials decide on that play, so it's second and 10.5 or so. Make it 10. Doege is sacked. Oh, he took that shot in the middle of the field. Devontae Fields, his first sack of the game, leads the Big 12. He's got 7.5 now.
You have Fields off the edge, but you also have pressure by Pearson in the middle. They actually loop. Up inside comes Fields, and Pearson goes outside. Very well disguised line stop by TCU right there.
Yeah, they may get a half a sack because Pearson was certainly in the middle of that. It's now 3rd down and 20. TCU playing without Stanley Mapanga. Their outstanding defensive end that is making life easier for Fields. That's a nice run to get out of trouble by Eric Stevens. Not going to get the first down, but going to make it a little bit easier on the punter, Ryan Erksleben, particularly with TCU's return game.
Yeah, more of a maintenance type of run to gain a little additional yardage for the punt team, like you said, Dave, but that's how you have to manage this game. You're in a bad position, go ahead and punt it away and then see if your defense can do something in this second half.
But watch out here for Sky Dawson, number 11 for TCU. Averaging 17 per return and has been really good today. Low kick. You may have to let this one go. It's tempting. Yeah, he couldn't resist. And it's going to be at the 21-yard line. He had waved off everybody, and after the 56-yard punt, which was primarily roll, it'll be TCU ball at the 21. The speed of Devontae Fields and TCU's defense holds on the first set. There is Sky Dawson. Caused some confusion on that last punt. Kelly, he never made a fair catch signal, but they blew the play dead.
Yeah, the line judge came in and blew this dead as if he had fair caught this ball. It obviously was not the distinctive wave your one hand above your head right there. I don't know what the confusion was, basically on the line judge right there.
So to the 21-yard line is where that gets us a short gain on the first play from offense from TCU in this half. But the trophy still up for grabs. The second half of the chase heads to Kansas. Brad Keselowski, Jimmy Johnston, and Denny Hamlin are still 1-2-3. But Clint Boyer has jumped to 4th with just 5 races remaining. Kansas is next. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Kansas presented by Ram tomorrow at 1 on ESPN. 2nd and 7. For Trevon Boykin, number 2, the quarterback now for this TCU team with Gary Patterson's. Casey Paul suspended for the remainder of the season. It's going to be incomplete. 3rd down and 7 coming up. Corey Fuller, graduate, playing at tight end, was the intended receiver there. We can talk to Gary Patterson about the impact this had on his team, and I thought his answer was very interesting. What he said is that he's had problems in the past and felt that he didn't handle it well, thought he emphasized it too much, and it's kind of that next man up philosophy, and trying to move forward as fast as they can rather than dwell. And it's nearly a catch along the sideline. A flag is down at the 40-yard line. Josh Boyce almost made a remarkable one-handed catch. Bruce Jones, who's replacing the injured Cornelius Douglas for Texas Tech, in coverage.
Holding by number 12 of the defense. It's a 10-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
That's the safety, DJ Johnson. That's going to be a first down for TCU.
Yeah, and it was actually inside right there on Sky Dawson, grabbing him as Dawson tried to come out of that break and get to the corner. Good call by the official right there.
Yeah, not much you can miss about that. And
no.
Dawson was helping him, too, by waving his hand around just in case he missed it. Gary Patterson has dealt with issues before. He had some off-season problems that affected his team in February. So this is just another hurdle for TCU to have to overcome. B.J. Catalon. Another thing I like about what you said is Catalon picks up about 4, 2nd and 6. Is he seems to think that his team does better when they're backed into a corner.
Yeah, when they play with a chip on their shoulder, somewhat like where he coaches from. He coaches with that chip, and you can see that they're kind of rallying behind this really obscure situation where they've had to deal with this adversity, and I wouldn't be surprised if this team plays really well down the stretch.
Well, good luck with that stretch, by the way, because it doesn't get much easier after. In fact, it doesn't get easier at all after today. On 2nd and 5, the receiver trying to get to the first down marker, and he will do so. That's Brandon Carter making the grab at the 45-yard line. How tough is the remainder of TCU's schedule? Well, again, Texas Tech is a fine football team. At Stillwater, at West Virginia, Kansas State, who's unbeaten, at Texas around Thanksgiving week, and then, Oklahoma to wrap all of that up.
Yeah, and so really it becomes a situation where if you lose this game, you have to look for ways to become bowl eligible the rest of the year.
Yeah, you got to get to 6 to do that. Boykin on the keeper. He did a lot of that in the first half. He picks up 4 there, just shy of midfield. It'll be 2nd down and 6. He had 1 rushing touchdown on the route over Baylor, where TCU struggled in the first half but played a very good second half, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. But Boykin accounted for 5 touchdowns in that win.
That's why they played so well offensively. I think Boykin really started to get settled in that second half against Baylor, especially converting on 3rd down, not with his feet, but by throwing the football.
He was 13 for 13 in 3rd downs in that game. 3rd down conversions today for TCU, 2 for 7. And that's a lateral. That's a loose football. Let's see who got it. TCU says they do. That might have been Andre Dean, number 30, who got in there. Unfortunately for TCU, that was almost a disaster. And they got it back.
First time we've seen the speed option where Boykin just takes the ball, options off the in man on the line of scrimmage. Texas Tech has it defended really well, but I think it was Dean, you're right, getting back in there and saving them a big headache on this drive right here.
So it's 3rd down and 10 following that recovery by the senior from Katy, Texas. They send Dawson in motion. He takes off deep. They're throwing to the middle of the field. A lot of bodies in there, and that is intercepted. Taken by Cody Davis. Ladarius Brown, number 85, was the intended receiver, but there were a lot of people down there, Kelly.
Yeah, it was very well defended. I think Boykin throws a decent ball, giving his guys a chance to go up and make a play on the end, and actually it's Texas Tech that makes the better play. Batted up in the air by Johnson, picked off by Davis, but at the end of the day on 3rd and long, that's not a bad punt.
Yeah, it's the 3rd interception of the season for Davis. I don't know if there's a mistake there, Kelly, to have 2 receivers that close to each other.
I think you're exactly right. I don't think there should have been 2 vertical routes right in the middle of the field. There was some miscommunication for sure. Number 16, Davis, is absolutely everywhere. He supports the run, and then he defends it on the back end really well also.
And over 300 career tackles coming into the game, and he certainly added to it now. Can his offense do something? They give it to Williams, and not a whole lot there. Kenny Williams. In fact, that's going to be a loss back to close to the 5-yard line. 2nd down and 12.
Texas Tech, theoretically, would like to run it more efficiently, but either you're committed to the run or you're not. And your guys up front have to know which it is, because if you're not committed, these guys up here don't get good fits in that run game, and it looks like that.
Well, they only have 11 rush yards, the Red Raiders, so far today. Doege going to go deep down the field, and it's incomplete. Trying to get it to Eric Ward at the 38-yard line. Kevin White was in coverage. That'll bring up 3rd down and 12.
That's the matchup we saw toward the end of the first half, was Ward matched up on Kevin White, man-to-man down the field. White defended Ward on that play.
Is caught at the 16-yard line. Soft coverage that time by TCU. Alex Torres making his first grab, and again it'll be a punt for the Red Raiders. And one thing we want to mention is Sky Dawson will come back to receive. The ruling is that any arm motion is a fair catch. So when he made that big wide sweep looking like almost an umpire calling somebody safe, that is a fair catch signal. So the official was correct to blow the play dead.
Well, and I stand corrected because I didn't understand the rule to be that. I thought it actually had to be above the shoulder in order to be termed a fair catch. So I'm educated today as well.
We're here.
Thank you, Dave.
Now that is the old-fashioned fair catch signal, and it's made at the 40-yard line. So the Horned Frogs certainly not winning the game, but they have the edge in field position following that 43-yard kick. So can TCU, behind the redshirt freshman quarterback, take the lead? They've got great field position. 40.
ESPN's College Football on ABC, brought to you by Pacific Life. For insurance, annuities, and investments, choose Pacific Life, the power to help you succeed. And Nissan, innovation for today, innovation for tomorrow, innovation that excites.
Perfect day in Fort Worth and a very good Big 12 football game. Texas Tech and TCU with Kelly Stauffer. I'm Dave Lamont. Second best field position, Kelly, of the day for TCU, but neither team has put any points on in this quarter.
Yeah, I think the offense for TCU has been inconsistent, and that's typical when you're trying to get a redshirt freshman quarterback on board.
So you go to your veteran running back, Matthew Tucker, the senior, spins for 7, sets up 2nd down and 3.
And I think that's exactly what Texas Tech is going to make TCU do. Put together a string of good plays in order to move the ball and get points. And that's a lot of times difficult when an offense is ran by a young quarterback.
That's the kind of balance that coaches always like to talk about. Sometimes they don't get it. Staying on the ground, and that'll be a first down. Tucker getting into Texas Tech territory in between the 48 and 49-yard lines.
And Dave, I think running between the tackles with this physical front 7 for Texas Tech works as long as your quarterback is a viable option. And so they're having success up the middle because obviously the quarterback Boykin can keep it and go around the edge.
That's Trey Porter, who is being looked at by the medics as we go to the studio. And Robert Flores. Robert?
All right, Dr. Pepper 10 conference update from the Big Ten. Michigan State on top of Michigan. Andrew Maxwell to Paul Lang, and it's 7-6 third quarter at the Big House. Now back to Fort Worth, Texas, guys.
All right, Robert, thank you very much. Taking a look at Trey Porter, the nickelback, a junior from Midwest City, Oklahoma, has been a valuable contributor for this Texas Tech Raiders defense, which came in number 4 in the nation. Number 2 rushing defense in the Big 12. And we'll see if we can find out exactly what happened to Porter.
And he's the nickelback coming from he's right there on that right side. It's hard to tell how he got bent somewhat awkwardly. But he's the guy that sets the edge, a real physical edge setter for this defense, and that run game in particular. So they will miss him if he's out for today.
So from the Red Raiders 48, here come the Horned Frogs. Staying on the ground. This time pops through a hole and gets inside the 35 down to the 34 for a 14-yard pickup.
And the same play, but a different running back with it. And Catalong has more zip in his step. You can see the double team will come off right here and get to the second level. And when right there, they come off to the second level just as he's getting up inside. But when you have a running back with a little more zip, those 4 and 5s move into 10 real quickly.
TCU now 144 rush yards, 141 pass yards, and Texas Tech not able to run the ball well at all. Boykin off the empty backfield. Look out, that's targeting a defenseless player. That is the correct call. DJ Johnson wound up and belted Sky Dawson. The pass was well over Dawson's head, and the personal foul will give TCU a first down.
Personal foul, targeting by number 12 of the defense. It's a 15-yard penalty, and it's a first down.
What a silly play by DJ Johnson. The ball is obviously overthrown. The receiver is just as obviously defensive, and Sky Dawson running that in route, and Johnson breaking off the far hash, and just an ill-advised play by Johnson.
7 penalties, 80 yards against Texas Tech, and hopefully Dawson's going to be okay.
And you know how offense is governed by young quarterbacks get in the end zone. is the defense extends drives like that.
Catalan again. He has got a quick start. Gets it to the 11-yard line, a gain of 8. So it'll be 2nd down and 2. Cody Davis in there on the stop.
The little extra burst that Catalan has that Tucker doesn't is making a difference running inside right now.
They're picking up the pace too, TCU is. But that time, no chance. A good tackle by Dartwan Bush on Catalan. Drove him back a yard. So here comes a big 3rd down and 3. TCU 2 out of 8 on 3rd down conversions. They are 45% on the season coming into the game, 37% for Art Kaufman's Texas Tech defense. There's Kaufman there in the middle.
With Cody Davis in here not able to help, this is the matchup that the young quarterback should like in this situation.
We have a whistle. The play will be wiped out with a false start penalty.
A false start by number 69 of the offense. The 5-yard penalty, and it's still 3rd down.
Davion Collins, a freshman tackle, making the mistake. Barely moved, but enough to draw the flag. So now it's 3rd down and 8.
Yeah, that matchup that I just pointed out with 3rd and manageable probably goes out the window, because you would think safety Davis is going to help out wide and not leave a one-on-one matchup.
The formation is a little bit different too here on 3rd and 8. On the draw, Boykin won't get there. Well, what a close by Will Smith, number 7, the linebacker. He read that play and got there quickly. So it'll be 4th down and 6, and on will be the impressive young kicker, Jaden Oberchrome.
Down in the red zone with the quarterback that can make plays with his feet, and you see 75 trying to get up inside in Woolridge, but the close by Will Smith, and he's one of those JUCO players that you talked about. You can see him showing up right there on that play.
Out of Riverside, California, you see Oberchrome so far today. This one from 32. Looked a little funny, but he got it. TCU has taken the lead. The Horned Frog fires up. Gary Patterson now turns to his specialty, defense, to try to maintain the lead. And Derek Dooley will be coaching that game tonight from a stool on the field.
That's not wise.
Okay, well,
that's not wise.
We'll be watching
right now.
We'll be watching to see if anything happens. You saw your score in time. TCU has retaken the lead on the Oberchrome field goal. His 3rd, 7 plays, 45 yards, and 341. Gorgeous day here at Fort Worth. We've told you a couple of times, and an opportunity here for Sadale Foster to return it. And he's not going to get far. Very well covered by the Horned Frogs, who only get to the 17-yard line. 15-yard return. Well, you see where Texas Tech has done today. They were the only team in the top 10 in offense and defense in FBS. They're not helping themselves today, but TCU's defense, even though they've given up the 21 points, they're not giving Tech many yards.
Well, that's the calling card of Gary Patterson, is playing really good defense. The question is, have his guys on the back end had enough birthdays to really execute what their head coach wants? And today they're playing pretty soundly. You're right. This Texas Tech offense can get off on any time. There are going to be more points scored here this afternoon.
Well, this team has played 16 true freshmen, TCU, not all on defense. 28 freshmen overall. As they go Wildcat with Stevens, and he'll get to the 20-yard line and pick up a 3. It'll be 2nd and 7 coming up.
See, and what the Wildcat means to me, Dave, if you're not like in the red zone and want to change it up, it means we kind of have thoughts of running the ball, but we're really not committed to running the ball. And I don't like that philosophy. You win games by throwing it with the veteran quarterback. Don't waste a play like that.
Tommy Tuberville's team trying to get that coveted 6th win, but also more importantly at this point, trying to be 3-1 in the Big 12. Same goal for TCU. The winner of this game most certainly feels like they have a chance to win the Big 12. The loser is going to be thinking about what bowl game they might be able to qualify for. Middle of the field drop. It was a good throw. Jakeem Grant could not hang on. Seth Doege, I know, Kelly, you've been in that position. How do you take that as a quarterback?
Yeah, you have to encourage the young guy, because Grant is one of the guys that's filling in for the 2 receivers, actually 3 that aren't playing today. And he's going to need some plays out of number 11. So you pat him on the back and say, look it in next time.
3rd down, 7. And now has 8.5 sacks.
Wow. You talk about quickness up inside, and while the defensive or the offensive tackle right there doesn't even hardly get a mid on it. And really what was happening, Texas Tech was having to pass that off on the offensive line. The guard and tackles should have switched that. The guard was late, too late on the afterburners that Fields had going already.
Being on time might not have helped. Now you've got Dawson, a good punt returner, hovering around midfield. Erxley, but it's a great kick. Dawson with a fair catch at the 45-yard line. So once again, TCU gets outstanding field position. The last drive, which led to a field goal and gave them the lead, started from the 40. Now they're going to be at the 45-yard line as we bring you this week's BCS standings, brought to us by Tostitos. Alabama tonight, Florida taking care of business against South Carolina. Oregon's already taking care of business. Kansas State, that's a big, big game. Oh.
That's a Heisman elimination game as well, I think.
LSU, not an easy day against Texas A&M, but they pick up a victory. South Carolina, we told you, is in quite a bit of trouble. And don't forget about Oklahoma. A lot of people wrote them off after they lost a game. Boykin, midfield. Catch made by Dawson. He has really played a complete game. And, you know, we can't forget about the so-called other Oregon team.
The other in the Civil War game.
And what the Beavers have done has been tremendous. How is it that Oregon, the state of Oregon, has 2 stud teams now?
Mike Riley is one of my favorite people in the entire world. He happens to be the head coach there as well, but he gets more out of less than anyone I've seen before.
On 2nd and 2. One of the things we haven't seen is the zone read as much, Kelly, at least as far as Boykin keeping the football, as Matthew Tucker busts it inside the Red Raider 40 to the 37-yard line. Boykin now is sticking to the handoff on just about every time.
And I think it's just because of the adjustment the defense has made. They said, you know, we think we can defend in the tackle box. We want to eliminate the quarterback outside the tackle box. I think the young quarterback is doing the right thing. And up front, they're blocking it really well. A hat on a hat, and just give a little room to the running back.
TCU had a 10-point lead in this game in the first half. And Davis makes the tackle on Sky Dawson.
Sky Dawson is having a really big evening because of the coverage outside. I think the safety in Davis that particular time has to come off the hash and cover the slot guy. I like that matchup if I'm TCU. So Dawson is down here and trips. Now we'll see what Texas Tech does on the back end.
Down and full. Pass out to Catalan. Rushing up was DJ Johnson, but it appears that Catalan has the first down to the 26-yard line.
And Dave, you notice the passing game from TCU right now is really controlled. Jared Anderson, the offensive coordinator at TCU, has taken the responsibility of reading defenses really away from the young quarterback. Throw it on time. Look at this guy, throw him the football. A bubble screen is a perfect example of that play.
You see right there, maybe the numbers that mean the most. Second half total yards, Texas Tech in minus figures, -1. And that pass is rejected. Looks like Delvon Simmons, a sophomore from McKeesport, Pennsylvania, number 8, was able to spike that one down. So it'll be 2nd down and 10.
And typically, Texas Tech on the back end, they don't like leaving the middle open. They'll have 2 high safeties or have 1 high safety and play man-to-man coverage underneath. That means 1 less defender inside the box to defend against the run.
Tucker is now the tailback. He sneaks out, and Boykin takes off, and he is spun down. Is there a face mask call? No. Donnell Wesley, number 96. Fans here were looking for a face mask, but the referee was right there and did not throw the flag.
Yeah, the referee behind the play has a perfect look at it, and it must have been the caller. He reacted like the face mask, but the referee got it exactly right. A nice play by Wesley, and he did not get the face mask.
So that is the end of the third quarter. The loss of a couple of yards is going to set up TCU with 3rd down and long as they are trying to get 6 wins, and most importantly, trying to get to 3-1. The same goal that Texas Tech came to Fort Worth with. Matchup has a long history going back to the 20s. Frogs fracturing Texas hopes back in the days of the Southwest Conference, and now both schools in the Big 12 renewing a rivalry. As we said earlier, the best part about this is every year these teams will meet.
Nice.
Yeah, that's going to be good. What a great thing for TCU, I think, to be in the Big 12. It's good for the conference, of course, and it's great for TCU. Will it be guns up, or will they be fearing the frog in this 4th quarter? Boykin dropped, just plain drop. Ladarius Brown just couldn't hang on. It would have been short of the 1st down. And Trey Porter is back on the field, we're happy to say, number 5 for Texas Tech, who left injured earlier, and he was in there on defense. Now we're going to get a good test here for Jaden Overcrome, who is 3 for 3.
I don't know about his accuracy right here, but I know he has the leg to get it there.
Well,
he's been booming the ball today.
Longest of the season's been 50. This is 45. A secret MVP for TCU is the freshman kicker, who is 4 for 4 in field goals. That one is longest of the afternoon. TCU leads it by 5. And it's guns up for some of the fans here. But TCU has the advantage where it matters most, but a long way to go here in Fort Worth at Amon G. Carter Stadium in the heart of the TCU campus, as the Red Raiders get an opportunity to get the ball back. But their offense has not been anything close to what it was in the 1st half.
Yeah, they're just one quick strike away, though. I wonder right now if TCU has put too many field goals up on the board and not enough touchdowns.
Well, their last 6 possessions, field goal, touchdown, field goal, turnover, field goal, field goal. A lot at stake in this matchup. Once again, Overcrome is going to have the ball held because of the breeze. Once again, he smashes it. And once again, it's a touchback and ball out to the 25-yard line. Let's take a look, Kelly, at our Pacific Life game summary. This Big 12 matchup. See what Boykin has done so far. How would you rate the play of these 2 quarterbacks?
I like the decision making by Boykin. You can see right there, I think the 10 or 15 of 25, he hasn't been exceptionally efficient. The 2 interceptions, one bad throw batted up in the air, the other one misplayed by his receiver. But Doege right here, you would expect him to get something going, Doege, but he just does not have the receivers available to him today that he has had in the past.
Well, they had stepped up in the 1st half, but they're missing Jason Morrow, who's out of this game with an injury, and out for the season, Javon Bell and Bradley Marquez. Another thing is TCU has increased the pressure. They go underneath the Stevens, made one nice spin move, and ends up getting just a couple of yards out of that as Davion Pearson, a redshirt freshman from Oklahoma City, makes the stop. It'll be 2nd down and 8.
The problem for Texas Tech offensively, they have opportunities, I think, down the field, as we saw in the 1st half, but they haven't been able to protect long enough to take advantage of it.
Well, Texas Tech not able to hit big plays like they did a week ago against West Virginia, where they destroyed the Mountaineer defense. TCU's defense is a lot better. Number 1 against the run of the Big 12, and they have been certainly that today. Now 3rd down and about a yard to go. So here's one of the biggest plays of the game about to come up.
You see Tech trying to run the football a little bit, getting a definite run look out of this front six by TCU.
And he's going to call it 3rd down and 2. Texas Tech came into the game at 57% 3rd downs. They're 2 of 8 today. They fake the jet sweep motion, and Doege keeps it and gets the 1st down. Now that was Stevens, pardon me, on the Wildcat, not Doege. And Doege will come back on the field now. So a little deception fooled me, and Stevens gets the 1st down. Their first down since the 2nd quarter with 3:41 to go.
And the Wildcat is all about creating one more run fit that the defense has to worry about. You take your quarterback that's not going to run it off, and you snap it directly to the guy that's going to run it.
Now Doege back in the game. Hesitating. And gets back maybe to the line of scrimmage. But we're starting to see TCU, as James McFarland, number 40, made the stop, put more pressure on Doege.
And they're doing it with 4. And that's exactly what Gary Patterson wants to do. Sometimes they're only using 3, which they're doing right now with only a 3-man line, forcing Doege to get it down the field in the face of 8 in coverage.
Jason Verrett able to make that stop as Sadale Foster was wiped out. You could see that coming. The question was, would Verrett get there before Foster hit the line, and he did.
Yeah, it's going to come from here. Verrett just immediately comes off of the edge as soon as he sees run threat. And it was probably a called blitz to begin with, but a great time for it.
Now sets up 3rd down and 14. Tech 3 of 9 today. They have only 8 rushing yards. Doege hangs in the pocket. It's incomplete. Austin Zuzalik is claiming he was held. The officials aren't buying it, so it's going to be 4th down. Sam Carter, the strong safety, who had a big game against Baylor last week with a couple of sacks and an interception, was in coverage, and it's time to punt again for Ryan Erxleben.
And TCU is really complicated in coverage on the back end when it's working properly. And with all those youngsters back there, you never quite know, but great coverage by Sam Carter on that play.
So we'll see what happens with Sky Dawson. We had a interesting call on a fair catch signal. Any waving signal causes the ball to be dead. There's a flag in there. That time he made no signal. Dawson certainly made the right decision. To the 45, and he's brought down there at the 47-yard line. Zuzalik, who was the intended receiver on the previous play, ended up making the tackle on special teams. Tommy Tuberville is well on the field.
Illegal motion by number 29 of the kicking team. The penalty is added on to the end of the run, 5 yards, and it's 1st down.
And Tubbs is working one of the officials big time. A 22-yard return plus the 5-yard penalty puts TCU in great field position in Texas Tech territory.
ESPN's College Football on ABC, brought to you by K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K. The Dr. Pepper Tuition Giveaway. Learn more at drpepper.com. And Firestone, reminding you that whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
Before a game, not everybody is eating barbecue. There's some other folks who decide to play a little football beforehand. That beautiful EA Sports NCAA Football Challenge. Now, Tommy Tuberville, during the break, was irate with the officials. Kelly, why?
Well, the return was to his side, and I think in the replay, there were a couple of questionable non-calls on what he thought were holding penalties, and that's what he just lit the officials up during this entire break.
It got to a point, and you may see it here, where they actually had to come out. One of the grad assistants had to come out and pull him back so he wouldn't draw a personal foul flag. So off to another great break in field position. There's tremendous tackle in the backfield by Kerry Hyder for a loss of a couple of yards. It'll be second down and a dozen. And you see Boykin not looking comfortable. He is limping around a little bit, favoring that left side. And you commented earlier, Kelly, a couple of times that he looked a little funny getting up off the pile.
Yeah, and that's clear back to the first half. As this game has gone along, he's had to carry the football up into traffic more than once, and that limp seems to be getting more noticeable.
See what the call is here on second and a dozen. Going for it right here, and it is incomplete, broken up by DJ Johnson. It was in the hands of Sky Dawson, and give Johnson credit for breaking up that play. It's third down and 12.
And what Johnson did is he closed really well on the seam up the middle by Dawson, and then what you do is you wait you hesitate a second when the receivers reach for the football, and then you just rake like a madman, and that's what DJ Johnson did on that play. There's the hands up, and then rake after you pause a second, and very well done in the end by DJ Johnson.
You're going to have to hurry on the snap, already under 5 seconds. From the empty backfield set. Going to go down the sideline this time, and it's overthrown. The intended receiver was Josh Boyce. That wasn't close. And so TCU, their last 3 drives started at their own 40, their own 45, and then the Tech 48. But you go back to that tackle by Kerry Hyder that caused a 2-yard loss on first down and reset everything for TCU, and what a big break for the Tech defense.
And what Tech's defense is doing is making Boykin prove that he can throw the ball downfield and complete it in a very, very tiny window, taking away stuff underneath and making him complete the vertical routes.
That's a high punt. And a kick toward the pylon. It's going to be a touchback to the 20-yard line. Touchback. Every coach handles nerves in their own way. Some guys chew gum. Some guys throw visors. Gary Patterson ties his shoes a lot. And there's one of the reasons why Texas Tech doesn't have any points in this half, and they trail in this game. The TCU 26-21, and Doege's on the spot there, though. Nice catch by Austin Zuzalik. But that's 16 plays now, and only 1 first down in this half for the Red Raiders, as we have an injured TCU player back at the 12-yard line. Kelly, explain why Texas Tech has not been able to move the ball nearly as well as they did in the first half.
What TCU is doing defensively is they're Texas Tech to string plays together. And Gary Patterson said that they're a type of offense that likes to dink and dunk until they get in plus territory, and then they play jump ball in the end zone. We've already seen that today. But they haven't been efficient enough in the dinking and dunking phase. Therefore, they haven't extended drives.
He's Kelly Stauffer. I'm Dave Lamont. The injured player for TCU is Chucky Hunter, who is a sophomore from West Monroe, Louisiana. And let's get a Sports Center right now from Robert Flores.
All right, guys, here's what's happening on SportsCenter right now, brought to you by HP. We'd like to welcome those of you who have been watching number 2 Florida and number 7 South Carolina. Jeff Driscoll has 4 touchdown passes. It's 37-8 Gators. Meantime, number 5 Notre Dame gets the go-ahead score from George Atkinson, but they're just leading by 3, 17-14 fourth quarter against BYU. Fellas.
Second down and a couple here for Texas Tech. Got an interesting question for you, Kelly, we'll get to here in a moment. He's bumped back to the 25-yard line. Penetration that time by Lewis caused that upset. Kenny Kane was able to clean it up. So it's going to be 3rd and 5. Real quick, the question as we look at the replay here involves the BCS. If Florida, they're going to win big. What if Alabama, doesn't do all that well? Could we have a new number 1 in the BCS?
We've already seen the computers do not like Alabama. I don't know why. Obviously, they don't have eyes and ears like we do, but yeah, that could be interesting. Florida is obviously impressive today.
Texas Tech 3 of 10 on 3rd downs. It's 3rd and 5. Doege under pressure. That's going to be a first down. Good presence by the senior quarterback to get it to Eric Ward. He was being chased by Devontae Fields, which isn't any fun. but it's a first down for the Red Raiders.
Doege is not an exceptionally mobile guy. You can see Ward coming all the way across the field underneath, but Doege moved just a little bit to buy enough time to get that throw off.
Quickly across the middle of the field, another first down for Texas Tech. The catch made by Tyson Williams, and he gets to the 45-yard line before Chris Hackett brought him down.
Doege is finding room in the middle of the field, as he found with Williams that particular time. That's where this defense, coverage-wise, is vulnerable, in the middle of the field.
And they move very quickly. Some of the TCU players weren't set yet. Williams tried to pick up an extra yard and does, and he is hurled out of bounds by Joel Hasley, the top tackler coming into the game for the Horned Frogs. But they are able to get into TCU territory. That's going to be second down and 3.
And TCU has been able to get really good pressure rushing 4, and so you have to slow those guys down by not only pass protection, but the tempo takes some starch out of that front 4 for TCU.
Texas Tech has only 212 total yards in this game. TCU's defense has been tremendous. A hurry here, down to 3. And the offensive coordinator, Neil Brown, a third of the way onto the field.
Texas Tech calls their first time out of the half.
They have 2 timeouts left, 8:08, and they're down 5, looking at second down and 2. What will Neil Brown call? Noisy now here at Amon G. Carter in Fort Worth on the TCU campus. Students and alum and the fans making noise on second and 2. Doege. That's an unbelievable catch. Gary Patterson says he's out of bounds, and the officials agree. Alex Torres with a beautiful grab, but he's out of bounds.
Wide receivers to this side just exchanging positions. Outside comes in. Torres is the inside receiver going out, and I think the officials got it exactly right. That ball was clearly caught out of bounds. And where has Torres been? He had 3 touchdown catches last year against OU in that big upset. We haven't heard from him today until then.
This play is going to be reviewed in more detail by our replay group. I'm kind of with you on this one, Kelly. I think he was OB. It's an unbelievable catch. And you brought up Oklahoma a year ago, and here's Texas Tech in almost an identical position.
Yeah.
What they did to West Virginia last week shook up college football, no question. May have even at least partially shaken the Heisman race. Now they didn't. Last year they didn't win another game and wound up 5-7, no bowl game, no anything. Now here they are, fighting for a chance at first place in the Big 12, or to be in position to be in first place in the Big 12. And coming off of a big win. He definitely, there's that elbow again.
It's the left elbow this time, but you're exactly right.
Now to go back earlier, what we're talking about is there was a replay that was initially called incomplete. And then we found out upon review that the receiver for Texas Tech, Eric Ward, caught the ball and his elbow landed in the end zone, not out of bounds, and the play was reversed and called a touchdown. So,
yeah. And remember, this was called out of bounds to begin with. We always have to keep that in mind.
It appears, let's go back, this is what we were talking about a second ago. Now the initial ruling, and again, I don't blame the side judge for calling him out of bounds if you watch this in real time. But there's what the replay official noticed, and this call from incomplete was overturned and led to 7 points.
Here it seems like almost simultaneously. Wow.
That's in.
I don't know that that's going to be discernible, to be honest with you.
Well, you're right, because if the ball is out, and there's a referee, Gary Patterson, helping out.
Wow.
This is a tough one. And again,
usually the extra time on the replay, it's more about maybe reversing and where do we spot it type of stuff.
Right.
Man, that is unbelievable. Remember, the standard is indisputable video evidence, and if we get down to elbow on the ground and was the wrist actually touching a blade of grass, the replay officials earn their keep.
If it's incomplete, it will be 3rd down and 2.
Tremendous catch, by the way, the left-handed by Torres, and brings it in. I think it's possession. And that's what they're talking about right here. The left elbow all the way down really to the wrist. Are they in bounds?
Here we go with the ruling.
After further review, the ball was caught at the 34.5-yard line, and it's a first down.
That is the second remarkable catch. And Gary Patterson turned toward the replay official and gave him a derisive wave of the hand.
Right there, the elbow, actually before the rest of it goes onto the ground, the left wrist, that elbow is down. That's great work by the replay booth.
He's had two. David Ames, the replay official, has had two unbelievably close calls to deal with on catches today. On first down, Doege wide open, and another first down, and there is Torres making the catch on the other side of the field this time. They're going to mark him down at the 20. There's a flag back at the 45-yard line.
Personal foul, grabbing the face mask by the defense. That penalty is declined. It's a first down.
And they've decided to put it down at the 21-yard line, and Doege now starting to get some more time.
Yeah, and getting time to throw the football to 86 Torres, and we talked about his big game last year against Oklahoma. You can see right there the man-to-man coverage. He breaks it outside. The timing by the quarterback on that play was impeccable, and Torres is kind of finding his rhythm a little bit.
And now they bring out the Wildcat with Eric Stevens, number 24. And now Texas Tech is going to take their second timeout.
Texas Tech calls their second timeout.
Just one left.
It's a 30-second timeout.
I have to ask, you're humming along with Doege. He's hitting people with passes. You're about to jump out, aren't you? You're not happy.
I'm not happy at all. I don't know why you changed things up. You're exactly right, Dave.
Robert Flores, let's get to you for a word.
All right, guys, nominee for the AT&T All-America Player of the Week, and it is Ohio State quarterback, backup quarterback, Kenny Guyton. He comes on in relief in place of the injured Braxton Miller, leads the Buckeyes to a comeback win against Purdue. You can text vote to 34763. By the way, Braxton Miller has been released from the hospital symptom-free.
That is outstanding news, Robert. Thank you very much. And after the timeout, Doege is back on the field. Stevens stays out there, but at the running back, all that cost them was a timeout they might need later in a very close game.
That could be a huge thing today.
Doege is hit 7 of his last 8 for 64 yards. Under some pressure, and then 7 of his last 9. So it's going to be second down and 10. I've got to ask again, Kelly, I'm confused by this, and obviously you know more than I do, and Neil Brown, the offensive coordinator, knows more than I do. I'm just puzzled by why, when things are going good, you would make that kind of a change.
And I agree. I don't understand it. I mean, I think sometimes the answer for me is coaches try to outthink themselves, and I think that might have been a very, very good example of it.
Doege has time here, guns it, and there's a beautiful catch by Austin Zuzalik. You started to wonder who was going to step up for the Red Raiders when the injuries to Bell and to Marquez, and it's Zuzalik and others who are stepping up.
And the timing and the ball placement, the left foot is down by Zuzalik clearly, but this is the rhythm that I don't want to take off the field right now. A veteran quarterback is feeling it, and he's getting the ball out quickly and accurately.
And maybe Brown recognized that, and that's why they burned the timeout, but they're down to just one. Doege wants the end zone. Can't find anybody. Good coverage. Throw to the back of the end zone. It's caught by Torres, and it's a touchdown. And Texas Tech has retaken the lead.
TCU had this very well defended initially, but the lack of pressure allowed the quarterback Doege to get outside, buy some time, and then Torres, as a veteran receiver does, worked his way back to the back of the end zone, and basically TCU just simply loses him.
Now, Seth Doege staying on the field.
Yeah.
Do you like this idea of going for 2?
I don't know that I like it right here. I think there's
But you go up 3 if you make it.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I'm not exactly sure. There's going to be more football played. I don't think you do it right here.
And this is not going to count because Tommy Tuberville came out and called the final timeout.
Yeah, I think there's certainly some second guessing going.
Texas Tech calls their final timeout of the half.
Going on the sidelines for
timeout.
Texas Tech. I just don't think you make the decision right now.
Can I offer up this idea?
Yeah, let's hear that.
Can you make the decision a couple of plays beforehand? Here's what I'm saying.
I hear you.
Again, I'm not an expert in this, and I have to defer to the guys who work 80-hour weeks preparing game plans. You are in a position where you're driving the ball, you're scoring.
Right.
You think somebody would say, hey, if we go in for 6, let's go for 2, and let's think of a play.
Yeah. In the tight ball game, you burn 2 timeouts in situations that I think are somewhat inexcusable on the coaching side of things. And I think sometimes you just outthink yourself, and you just have to have a play that you can execute. If you want to throw your offense out there and go for 2, then be committed to it and get it done. But to second guess, burn a timeout, I think that shows the indecisiveness that was there to begin with.
So Texas Tech will try to make this into a 3-point game. Don't forget, TCU's got a tremendous kicker in Jaden Oberchrome. Back in the end zone, perfect 2-point conversion. Caught by Darren Moore. It's 29-26. Well, they call the right play after the timeout anyway. A 10-play, 80-yard drive and 3:51. Texas Tech, 9 in the air, 1 on the ground. Seth Doege in the back of the end zone to Alex Torres. Now, can TCU respond at home?
Texas Tech is on the rise. Now a national research university, a growing campus steeped in tradition. 7 straight semesters of record enrollment. Wind research that's unrivaled in the world. The best trained and educated students for today's jobs. And to all this, we have just one thing to say. With pride, guns up.
This has been a back and forth football game. The largest lead for either team has been TCU at 17-7. And for a while, Texas Tech's offense was going nowhere. Third quarter, they did nothing. Now in this fourth quarter, they put together a beautiful 10-play, 80-yard drive, and they do it primarily in the air, Kelly. Now it's up to the number 4 defense in the nation coming into the game to do something about it. Here's Sky Dawson trying to get to the edge, but they're waiting for him, and he slipped at the 15-yard line. He'll get to the 16, and that's going to be it. Bad field position for TCU. Let's take a look at the senior, Seth Doege.
Doege certainly has found his rhythm in this second half, and really on this last drive. He's moving well. He's seeing it well. You can tell the ball is coming out on time. He's finding Torres also that isn't a bad decision as well. And then Darren Moore for the 2-pointer in the back of the end zone. I don't mind going for it right there. I mean, the point after touchdown really doesn't do you that much good, but make a decision and go with it, because you may need timeouts if this game continues to go back and forth with a little over 6:30 left.
We know that Oberchrome, the kicker for TCU, has got leg. He's made 1 from 50 this season. Today, his longest has been 45 of 4 field goals, and that's done incomplete. It'll be 2nd down and 10. So now, this is something that Ravon Boykin didn't have to do last week. They got out on Baylor in the second half and blew the Bears out. Now he's got, in just his 3rd start, has to take his team from behind against a good defense.
Yeah, a huge game in conference in front of a huge crowd, and it's a big moment for that young man. And you're right, that throw didn't look like he was comfortable.
You can run the ball, you know. It's not like they haven't had some success. They have 159 rushing yards. The moment the backfield is empty now, they trot cattle on back there. And that's where they go. And they'll get a couple, and that's going to be about it. Brought down by Jackson Richards, number 43. So here comes a 3rd and long. This is about the worst starting position. In fact, this is the poorest starting position that TCU has had. And here's a huge 3rd down.
Yeah, and what Boykin has to understand, you can see right there at 3rd down last week against Baylor, he was unbelievable, but they don't have to win the game on this play. So if it's there, try to convert. If it's not, don't put your team in a bad situation.
Tech going to blitz. They do bring some pressure on Boykin, and it's incomplete. Missed his man. Boykin got drilled, and he is going to be very slow getting up. Dartwan Bush, number 54, looks like the player who got through here.
Yeah, Texas Tech getting a little bit more pressure, and that was somewhat late. It didn't affect the throw, but certainly Boykin did not look comfortable on that play. And what Texas Tech is doing in coverage-wise, they're keeping a safety deep, playing man-to-man underneath, and TCU isn't getting much separation currently.
Zuzalik awaits the punt. High, not very far, but very high. Zuzalik just lets it go, and it actually kicked sideways, so good field position for the Red Raiders at the 38-yard line following the 43-yard kick. Well, new on ABC. Not every game has a happy ending, but every Tuesday on ABC does. TV's most fantastic comedy comes to Tuesdays this fall on ABC, so have a fun nightstand with Happy Endings, which premieres Tuesday, October 23rd, 9 Eastern, 8 Central on ABC. Now, if you're Seth Doege, he's just floating out on the field right now. He just had his best drive, arguably, of the entire game under pressure, and now he has a chance to put the game away.
And TCU didn't seem to have any answers coverage-wise on that last drive.
And they'll go to the ground. It's not been easy for them on the ground as Kenny Williams, the sophomore from Pflugerville, Texas, gets the carry. Gets out to the 41-yard line, so 2nd down and 7. Now you start to look at the clock.
Yeah, you're right. Ideally, you want to run the clock if you're TCU or Texas Tech. You want to go ahead and run it a couple of times, but also your quarterback is really accurate, and he feels it right now. So throwing the ball isn't that big of a risk either.
Another big thing, and watch how long Doege takes before the ball is snapped. There's no hurry. Gets down to 7 there. Play action fake. Middle of the field, and it is through behind the receiver, Grant. So it's going to be 3rd down and 7. Sam Carter, number 17, and Olabo, number 6, were in there. So now here's a big call on 3rd down and 7. And again, you're out of timeouts if you're Texas Tech, so you better get it right.
And you're right. That ball, if it was on Grant crossing the field, that's a conversion. That was a poor throw by Doege on that play. To see if Gary Patterson feels comfortable bringing pressure on this particular play. Right now they look like they're playing coverage with 3 down linemen and covering with 8.
Watch for 95, Devontae Fields in that defensive end position. Scattering up the middle and 1st down. As Sadale Foster, he knows what that 1st down means.
What a gutsy call by Neil Brown, the offensive coordinator. A 3-man line to me means run the football, and he was willing to do it even though it was 3rd and not so manageable. Good call, well executed by Texas Tech.
We want to welcome those of you who watched the Notre Dame BYU game. Welcome here to Fort Worth, Texas. TCU and Texas Tech. There's your score and time. A lot at stake in this game. Both teams 2-1 in the Big 12. Notre Dame a winner against BYU to remain unbeaten. I'm Dave Lamont along with Kelly Stauffer. We're seeing Texas Tech being able to run the football for the first time all night. And Kenny Williams toward the end zone. He will score! A 47-yard run by Kenny Williams, and Tech has their largest lead of the game.
Yards after contact are killers when you're trying to get the ball back, and a simple zone run, decently blocked up front, but it's just poor tackling.
And that is the #1 tackler, Joel Hazley, who surprisingly missed that tackle.
Exactly. He's been good today. That was not a great effort.
So Texas Tech trying to avoid what happened to them last year when they won a big game in the middle of the season and didn't finish well. This is finishing well. The sophomore from Pflugerville. Now, can TCU respond quickly?
Let's move. Quick, let's go. Y'all got it? Coming down. Come on, hurry up. Over there. Almost there. Here it comes. Raise it up. Showtime.
Block by block, piece by piece, the Big 12 is standing strong.
And for those of you who did just join us, that graphic tells the story of this fourth quarter. It was 21 Texas Tech, 20 TCU at halftime. Texas Tech a bust offensively in the third quarter. They busted out, Kelly, in the fourth.
And Doege got really comfortable in the fourth quarter, as you can tell by those statistics right there. He's been sharp, he's made great decisions, and obviously he took his team down and got it done on that drive as well. And
Williams, who busted that one for 47, had no yards and 5 carries before that. Now an opportunity here, kicking into that breeze a little bit. Dawson takes a shot at the 25-yard line, a clean hit. So we'll see now what the redshirt freshman Trevon Boykin does in his third start following the suspension of Casey Paul.
Remember, you're down by 10. You need a touchdown and a field goal, but it truly doesn't matter in which order you get them.
Right.
But they obviously need to drive the football, and we haven't seen that out of TCU in the fourth quarter. And the good news for TCU is they have 4 field goals. The bad news for TCU is they have 4 field goals. We talked about that when this quarter started. Do they have too many threes on the board? The answer may be yes.
Boykin juggling. Finds his man. He came back away from the first down. Kelly, this has to drive you nuts, having played the position at a high level as you did. Sky Dawson had the first down.
Yeah, but he had to come back for the football to catch the football. I don't really mind that, especially in this situation, but you're exactly right. It would be nice to be converting on that particular play. So it's second down and a yard to go. The down marker says first, but it's actually second. And it's going to be third down. Well, the middle of the Tech defense just swallowed up that play. That went nowhere with Matthew Tucker. And now TCU takes one of their timeouts. They're down to 2. You'll notice that Texas Tech does not have any remaining in this game. I think the play calling on that particular play, I think you need to drive the football, so you can't run it to pick up the first down necessarily. You have to be able to throw the football, even with the redshirt freshman in that situation. And for TCU, they have co-offensive coordinators, Jaron Anderson, and that's Anderson who's just put his headset microphone up to the top of his hat there. And Rusty Burns is to the right of him. He's partially obscured by that pole. They try to come up with something here. Obviously, I've got to think here, Kelly, if they do not get the third down, they have to do it on 4th. They have to go for it. You're right. And remember, you have a running quarterback, but that running quarterback has been dinged since the first half. So I don't know what kind of an option he is right here. Boykin, one of his last 5 for just 9 yards. Guns it here. Got his man. First down to midfield. Josh Boyce keeps it alive for the Horned Frogs. And you can see Boykin just hopping a little bit there as he runs down the field. And this is a very good look. Stand in the pocket and throw it strongly. Boom, right there. The quick release, accurate pass gave Boyce an opportunity to run with it, even though it was a sure tackle by DJ Johnson. Pressure up the middle here from Hyder. Great job. Flag down. Boykin got a block and then lost his footing at the 45-yard line. But is there going to be a holding penalty on TCU?
Holding, number 75 of the offense. 10-yard penalty and replay first down.
And you remember that Blaine Foltz, who's the starting right guard, left the game with an injury, and that's his backup, John Woodridge, with that holding call. When you have a quarterback that can make plays outside the pocket, this happens sometimes to offensive linemen. You're expecting the quarterback to be in the pocket right there, and actually he just gets beat inside. That was well before the quarterback with good feet took off. Yeah, Hyder's a heck of a talent. First down and 20 now. Clock running under 2:45. Boykin in trouble and throws from his back, and it's incomplete. How on earth he did that, I don't know. Now we have a TCU player shaken up, and he gets up quickly. That's Eric Tosh, and trying to do not send the trainers out, he says, because that's going to take him out of the game. The pressure once again by Bush around the outside. It wasn't great pressure, it wasn't quick pressure, but he continued to work and got to Boykin at the end. Great job of strength from Boykin there. Second down and 20. Fires. Incomplete. 3rd down and 20. David Bush was the intended receiver, and Boykin slow to get up.
Collins, number 69, the true freshman outside, just is not doing a very good job on 54 Bush. When you have a hard time outside, that edge rush gets to you. I guarantee you that Boykin does not feel real comfortable currently.
Is there something you can do, a play you can call to negate that edge rush?
Well, I think the hold puts you in a position where obviously you have to run routes that take more time. You might be able to chip with him with the running back.
Going to go for it right here, deep down the field for Brown to make the catch. Darius Brown. TCU is not dead.
Well, the man-to-man coverage, the one-on-one ends up out here. This has been there before. Brown is one-on-one. He goes vertical. And the young quarterback finally finds it.
It's a critical PAT because it makes it a 3-point game. Jaden Oberchrome with the extra points.
But typically, Texas Tech likes to keep help in the middle of the field. And so you get one-on-one outside after the rotation. So if you just run a good route, the safety is nowhere to be found. Those plays have been there before. Boykin just hasn't thrown the ball accurately down the field. Different story on that play to Brown.
Well, he had the time. Bush was blocked. And they managed that time trying to block him without chipping him. That time the tackle did his job and kept him in. I thought they were going to chip with the running back, but he went out of the pattern. So 2:25 to go. Remember the timeout situation for Texas Tech. Of course, they're the team with the lead. They don't want to stop the clock. They can't. TCU has 2 timeouts left.
What a beautiful hookup by Brown and by Boykin on that play. 2 freshmen.
Now TCU considering an onside kick here, I am sure. Texas Tech is certainly waiting for it. They have Stevens back at the 20-yard line. Everybody else is waiting this kick. And there he goes, onside kick. And it's caught by Texas Tech and Austin Zuzalik. A sure-handed player sent out there. So now the Red Raiders have the football at their own 49-yard line. And we have an injured Texas Tech player. Now, so much violent activity in those onside kicks.
And they got what they wanted. You want it so it bounces and it can't be fielded by the initial receiver. You got that, but you just didn't have the guys penetrating to get down there to get that carom off the first guy.
You saw Sadale Foster, who was the player who first touched the football, was the one who took a huge hit. Thankfully, he is able to walk off under his own power.
That first line of defense on those type of plays are not for the faint of heart. They are brutal plays in football.
All right, now 2:23 is a long time. TCU's got 2 timeouts, so you can't, if you're Texas Tech, you can't go completely into a shell.
Oh no, you can't. I think there's an opportunity for TCU to get this football back. Obviously, you have to play really good defense. A negative play would certainly help.
And they go Wildcat here with Stevens, and he's only going to get a yard. Gets to midfield. And TCU takes one of their timeouts. They are down to 1. We have seen it all in this game here, Kelly. We've had great defense at times, as we expected, because these teams highly ranked. We've also seen some big plays like the run by Williams and then that touchdown pass.
Yeah, the defenses have actually played fairly well today, but there have been big play opportunities outside for both teams. They just haven't consistently taken advantage of it. But TCU's defense is capable of getting this ball back. Texas Tech cannot fall asleep.
Now, are you comfortable with this idea to go to Wildcat here, or do you want the quarterback out there?
I want the quarterback out there. I want your veteran trigger puller out there to make decisions, not a running back that's not used to getting direct snaps.
And Doege is back out there on 2nd down and 9. Ball in midfield. Again, the Horned Frogs down to only 1 timeout. Stevenson gets a couple. It's going to be 3rd down and 7. And there's the last timeout for Gary Patterson. So let's visit with Robert Flores.
Neither
Robert
team has a timeout remaining.
All right, guys, coming up on ABC, it is primetime football. Some of you will see number 25, Texas host Baylor, as the Bears look for a 3rd consecutive win against Mac Brown's team. Others will see E.J. Manuel and Florida State renew their rivalry with Miami. It's coming up 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ABC. Guys?
There's the TCU defensive huddle coordinator, Dick Bumpus, and of course Gary Patterson, heavily involved in all defensive calls for TCU.
Obviously, you're going to have to play tight coverage. You have a veteran quarterback in Doege. You would expect him to certainly throw the football right here.
We'd like to welcome those of you who just watched USF in Louisville. Welcome to Fort Worth and the waning 2-12 of this Big 12 battle. It's going to be 4th down, and TCU will have to give up the football here with 2 minutes and 6 seconds and counting.
Well, once again, going to the direct snap at a Wildcat, and I just simply don't agree with it. I think your best player offensively today has been your quarterback, making great decisions on time. Allow him to do that here when the game's on the line.
And you're also pretty much announcing we're not throwing the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. A running back with a direct snap is not going to put the ball in the air.
Now remember, Texas Tech, I'm sure the strategy here is take the 5-yard penalty.
Yeah,
take the extra couple of seconds, lose the 5 yards, you're punting the ball anyway. They're not even attempting to line it up. You have an excellent returner back there in Dawson for TCU. So now they're going to punt 5 yards.
Delay of
That's
game by
the
the
decision
It's a 5-yard penalty
on that last play. Do we want to burn time versus risk converting with our quarterback through the air? And obviously the decision was we want to run the clock.
Erkslaven's pretty good, by the way. He's averaged 48 yards today. That's a name that's legend in the state of Texas for kicking. Line drive here. Dawson. He's going to go for it. Made the first couple miss, but not enough. So now, with no timeouts, TCU will be at their 19-yard line. They need to get to, what do you think, Kelly, about the 35 of Texas Tech to have a shot at tying the game?
The wind has died down, even though it would be at the kicker's back, so I think that's about right. He's hit some that would have been good from 65. I wouldn't count on that right now unless you absolutely have to. But in the meantime, you have a redshirt quarterback that is playing in his 3rd start that is dinged up from the first half. So he's not real mobile, but he's thrown the ball pretty decently in this second half.
And hit a big play from 60 yards to Ladarius Brown to make this a close game. He's got time. Throws wide open. That's Scott Dawson, and he had speed. Dawson down to the Texas Tech 45. Clearly a blown coverage that time. Jarvis Phillips saving the touchdown, 36 yards. The clock will begin as soon as the ball is marked ready for play. Bush putting on pressure, going to go to the sideline, out of bounds at the 39-yard line. That's Cam White. Remember, our estimation is that the freshman kicker, and you see what he's done already, he's awfully good. A first down will put him in field goal range.
I'm not so sure he's not in range now. Obviously, the closer they get now, the more likely it is for him to knock it through with this kind of pressure.
Been impervious to that today, but they got to get him a little closer. Bush putting on the pressure from the outside, and that's going to be the first down they needed. Out of bounds at the 29-yard line. Gary Patterson screaming at him to spike the football. 50 seconds remaining. Brown made that catch, and there's the spike, stopping it with 47 seconds remaining. It's 2nd down and 10.
How well has the redshirt freshman quarterback executed in this situation? It's been unbelievably good.
Now, here's the other thing. How do you call plays now for TCU? This is a 46-yard field goal, far from automatic, so you want to get more yards, but you have no more timeouts.
That's a great point, and you can always kill it if you run it and then you don't get much. You can always get up there and kill it because downs necessarily aren't that big of a deal for the next 2 anyway.
Boykin will go to the middle of the field. They're going to find the middle, and they get the first down, and that will stop the clock while the ball is marked.
And I think Texas Tech is simply just giving this receiving corps too much room as you look for Boykin to kill it again.
And so the catch by Tucker and the resulting run got the first down. Now it's 2nd down and 10. The clock stopped. 38 seconds. How about taking a shot at the end zone?
I don't know that you want to do it with Boykin, the redshirt freshman. I don't know that you can narrow it down enough to feel comfortable with that decision. If you have a veteran quarterback, you can tell him, at the very least, we kick a field goal and tie this thing up. If it's there, great. I don't know that you say that to a redshirt.
Number 4 defense in the country coming into the game. Texas Tech is on their heels, but they still have the edge of the score. Boykin under pressure and sacked at the 25-yard line. It's now 3rd down. The clock continues to roll. There is D'Artwan Bush. He's got to spike it here to set up 4th down, and he does. Now it's 4th down. And you're going to have to send out the kicker, and there he goes. And now the kick has become 42 yards. In his range, no question.
See, that's one of the things that you tell the young quarterback. We don't throw it into coverage, and we don't take a sack. And you can see he couldn't hold up his end of the bargain in that second one. He took the sack.
Neither team has a timeout. There you see Overcrome's day. This one from 42. Would have been good from 52. He crushed that one too.
And there, the wind has died down, but he absolutely hit the middle out of that ball. I mean, this was absolutely right down Broadway and was gone for another 10 or 15. And it's one thing to kick these out in practice when they kind of quarantine the kickers off by themselves. It's a far another matter to do that when you're in front of all of these people in this big evening here for Horned Frog football.
9 plays, 56 yards in 62 seconds, and the redshirt freshman has brought them from 10 points back with about 4 minutes to go, hitting a 60-yard bomb and then calmly taking them down the field, doing all the right things except for the sack. And we are likely going to overtime.
And what's amazing about that to me is he's limping, so he doesn't even have his best weapon, which feels I can get outside the pocket and make something happen. He's done it inside the pocket really well.
So Overcrome will blast this kickoff for yet another touchback. And I'm going to take a guess that we're going to see a knee here. And
it will be interesting.
Overtime. Well, you don't have any timeouts.
You don't have any timeouts. I do have a veteran quarterback that obviously I want in the game instead of Wildcat, by the way. But I think you're right. Without timeouts, 18 seconds is not a lot of time.
Well, Nagy will come out, but there you see behind him is another Red Raider. And that is strictly a defensive position.
Yeah, that guy signals overtime.
But why not? There's so much at stake for these teams. We're not even at Halloween yet, and we come across a very important regular season game in the Big 12, and it's going to go to free football. Both these teams 2-1 in the Big 12. You know what Texas Tech did last week, shook up the game. TCU trying to shake up a brand new conference. It seems like they're in a conference every other year. They're in one where they're very comfortable and very happy, and they might be 3-1. Or will it be the Red Raiders? OT is next.
John Saunders and Jesse Palmer back in the studio. Jimbo Fisher ready to go against Miami tonight for Florida State.
His team had been sleepwalking in recent weeks against USF, against NC State, came back to life last week against BC. Big in-state rivalry game against Miami.
Some of you will see David Ash in Texas take on Baylor. Texas coming off back-to-back losses. A good performance by Nebraska's Taylor Martinez, who led his squad back against Northwestern. Taylor Martinez here. You can see them marching down and trailing for the Wildcats, but a good strike.
Very improved passing game this year. Taylor Martinez mechanics. Ben Cotton on the receiving end of that score, a tight end.
Northwestern, though, with one last chance on the field goal. You can see from 52 yards out, just sails wide and is a little short. Bo Pelini has a victory, 29-28. Right now, let's take it back to overtime, TCU and Texas Tech.
Here we are, overtime about to begin. Texas Tech had a 36-26 lead. Just a couple of minutes to go, about 3 in the fourth quarter, and TCU comes back. It's more like 4. And now we're looking at overtime for Gary Patterson's Horned Frogs and Tommy Tuberville's Red Raiders. Let's review the rules before we find out who's going to get the football first. You have, of course, the coin toss. Each team gets 1 possession from the 25-yard line until we decide a winner. There is no game clock, but the play clock is in effect. And after the first 2 overtimes, you got to go for 2. Let's go to the field and our referee, Cooper Castleberry. Interesting that Michael Brewer, the redshirt freshman quarterback, was out there for Texas Tech. His first look at the field today. Josh Boyce for TCU.
Nothing carries over. You can't accumulate it. Period to period. In the beginning of the third overtime period, you must go for 2.
You see Bree's lips, you must go for 2.
What do you want?
What would you do here? You win this toss, Kelly.
Tails is the call. And it is tails. You want offense, defense? He wants defense. Which end of the field do you want to play? All right, we'll go that way. You're on defense.
All right, let's review here exactly how we got to this position. We told you that it was 36-26. Texas Tech after a big run, and here's the comeback.
And the big play down the field by Brown throwing over the top of Nebo, and that's been there before. It's the first time they've been able to hit it tonight. And then the young quarterback just simply got on fire. Found the open guy, threw it on time. And then Overcroft just hit a bomb.
Well, we've had a blast here in Fort Worth, so overtime seems proper.
And I like my defense to be out there first. If you have the ability.
Why is that?
Well, I think you just know then offensively exactly what you need, and it dictates your play calling. If I only need a field goal, then it determines how I call plays when my offense is out there.
There you see the overtime record, 5-4 for Texas Tech. TCU is at 5-6. Boykin now 22 of 38, 307, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Gary Patterson is out there saying we actually wanted to defend the other end of the field.
I thought that Boyce pointed to our left.
I think you're right. We can have replays of the coin flip.
Wouldn't that be something?
We will play at this end of the field.
Wow, well, Gary says, no, I want to play headed toward my office.
Tails is the call. And it is tails. You want offense, defense? He wants defense. Which end of the field do you want to play? All right, we'll go that way. You're on defense.
Yeah, Boyce seemed to point to the other end of the field, but Gary Patterson wants to go, eventually Texas Tech's offense to go into this mass of purple down here on the other end of the field. There's much more red at the other end.
Yeah, including the Texas Tech band.
Boyce clearly pointed the other direction, however.
Yes, he did. All right, overtime underway. And they go on the ground with Matthew Tucker, and he gets inside the 15 to the 11-yard line. A 14-yard gain to start. Eugene Nebo on the stop.
And if I was Texas Tech defensively, I would make Boykin prove that he's a ball carrier in this situation. The quarterback zone read means nothing unless my quarterback is a viable option to run. I don't think number 2 is right now.
He's been beat up all day today. Boykin has been limping around at times starting in the first quarter. That was hours ago. For the end zone right here for the 6, and it's overthrown. 2nd and 10.
You're telling the young quarterback the same thing as you were at the end of regulation is we have a field goal at worst. So if we throw the football, you make a great decision. If it's there, drive it in there and make a play. If it's not, throw it up to your head coach's office upstairs, and we live to kick a field goal.
And they certainly have the ability with Overcroft being 5 for 5 today, including the kick that put us into the overtime. Back to the ground. Inside the 10 goes Tucker. And down to about the 7-yard line. So it's going to be third. We'll call it in about 6.
You can see Boykin as he comes on for further instructions, and he just simply has a bad will. He's not moving all that well, so I don't think he's a viable option out on the edge as a runner. We can see what kind of decision he makes in the passing game, particularly right here.
Got 10 seconds to get the play off.
And Sky Dawson has been the go-to guy from that slot. We'll see if he finds him on this play.
He gets the play off the time he does. They go to a tunnel screen. Touchdown! Jaguars! Well, you said you like to go second. Now Texas Tech knows what they have to do.
You're exactly right. And Sky Dawson was the decoy on that play, going outside, and he ended up blocking the cover guy for Boyce. Very well executed.
No problem again for Overchrome. So now it's very simple for Texas Tech. 7 or you go home a loser.
Boyce is going to come inside on the screen, and you can see number 11, Sky Dawson, acts as if he's going outside to run a route, but what he's going outside to do is block the cover guy of Boyce. Very well disguised and very well executed by Boyce and Sky Dawson.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say we're not going to see the Wildcat in overtime.
If we see the Wildcat on any play in overtime, you might have to prevent me from jumping out of this booth. Keep your trigger puller on the field.
And he is, Seth Doege. The senior is thrown for 254 yards and 4 touchdown passes. There's out of the flat. Catch made by Stevens. He'll get inside the 20, and a good start there, too. It's a 7-yard pickup. 2nd down and 3. Jason Verrett, number 2, on the stop for TCU.
And a good start because of a great decision by your quarterback. The motion showed him what the coverage was. He knew he had an outlet outside, and at the end of the day, that's exactly where he went, to Stevens sitting outside the hash.
They substitute Sadale Foster, number 8 at the tailback position. And handed to him. First down. And Foster probably has a little bit fresher legs than Stevens or Williams.
Now that's a great point, because this game obviously has gone long and guys start to wear out a little bit, but right now play calling wise, if I have a senior quarterback as Doege is, I let him win the game. I want to throw the ball into the end zone at some point.
Doege under a little pressure, gets rid of it, a sidearm sling, a short gain. It was caught by Sadale Foster, but I don't know how Doege got rid of this.
The pressure that TCU has been lacking, you're right there. Doege gets it out, and it was a great catch by a running back. Typically, quarterbacks are taught with tight ends and running backs, you have to have the ball on them, or they're not catching it. Great catch by Foster right there.
They need 9. Now Stevens is back in the game, number 24 at the tail, 3 receivers to the left. Looking to the right, where Moore is open in the end zone. He can't see him. Goes instead to the other receiver, Stevens, the running back, and he can't hang on. Moore was open. It's 3rd down and 9.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 95 of the defense. Half the distance to the goal, and an automatic first down.
First down off the penalty.
The receiver you were talking about was outside on a double move, and the penalty on field, trying to get pressure that TCU has lacked. Outside the double move right there, and then go to the fade. Moore faked the slant inside and then went vertical, and Doege gave up on him just a little bit early.
So Doege has a fresh set of downs at the 6.5-yard line. For the slant, throws the fade instead. A lot of hand fighting. Is there a flag, or is it a touchdown? It is a touchdown. Another catch in the back of the end zone by Eric Ward.
Texas Tech loves to play jump ball. You can see outside those big receivers. That's offensive pass interference, plain and simple. And it's either offensive pass interference in the first quarter and in overtime, or it's not at all. That's a definition of offensive pass interference right there.
Got to make this PAT, by the way. Ryan Buston, redshirt sophomore. He does. We're going to go on to another overtime. Now let's go back to an important part of this touchdown drive was the roughing the passer call.
And Fields coming up top, trying to get pressure.
That is the touchdown pass that Doege threw.
That was the touchdown pass that came after the roughing call, and that was, I think, a no call on the pass interference offensively.
Here is the penalty. They called it on Pearson?
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, I can't even explain that one. That extended a drive.
So we're going to go to a second overtime. Here is a better look at that penalty. That was not the penalty. That was the little short gain. Here is the play that was called roughing the passer.
Yeah, I thought they had called it on Fields, and that absolutely is. There's no question about that. The confusing part, I thought they said Fields. That's the play. The ball was gone, even though the defensive end may not see it.
We're laughing because that's about the 50th time that Gary Patterson has tied his shoes today in the game. Now let's go to the other end of the field. So the argument that we had, there's so many strange things that have happened today.
Oh my.
It is most fitting that this game continues into a second overtime. I have never yet seen a coach argue a coin toss and win. Now they have gone to the other end of the field. And here's Texas Tech trying again, and here is the Wildcats in overtime. And they go for a trick play. Doege, he's going to get the 5. Jakeem Grant. And they had a play for the Wildcat in overtime. Good thing you stayed in the booth.
I don't care how you do it. You can call it Wildcat or whatever, but number 7 is your playmaker. Get him the football and let him make a play for you. That's exactly what happened on that play. What a call.
All right, PAT is going to be critical again. Got it. Now TCU must counter with 7.
And this is why you keep Doege on the field as a quarterback right here. The double reverse, he's going to end up with the ball, the fly sweep, the pitch, and then you can see Grant going to the opposite corner. Very well disguised, and you get hit as a quarterback whether you're split out wide or not. You have the football, you're fair game.
Kenny Kane came in. I'm a little bit surprised they didn't call that for helmet to helmet, but it doesn't matter now. You see, he didn't quite get him. I guess he got him in the chest, but still, now TCU's got to come back. You're asking one more time for your redshirt freshman in his 3rd start to bring you back.
Yeah, and he's looked very composed, but obviously this is all new for him. Every experience he has for the next several games is going to be new to this young man.
And Boykin into traffic, but it's going to be a gain of 5. Sky Dawson seems like he's had about 100 catches in this game, plus some very effective punt returns. And you might have noticed before we had that play, across the way right there, they're buttoning up Doege and making sure that he's going to be okay if he has to come back out for a 3rd overtime. I thought at one moment they were giving him the concussion test. He just got a bandage for taking that shot, which clearly was now in the helmet.
And offensively for TCU, what you have to stress, especially to the young quarterback, it's offense as usual. We don't have to get it all on one play, even though we need to get it into the end zone.
On 2nd and 4, they're going to go to the ground to Matthew Tucker. He's going to get to the edge, and he's going to be hurled out of bounds by Cody Davis. Grant Walker by the 2 and the 9, but it's a 1st down for TCU.
Dave, you remember in the first 4 quarters of this game, TCU's best run plays were between the tackles, actually in the tackle box, and now they're getting to the perimeter, not with their running quarterback, but with their running backs in that same scheme.
First and goal from the 9. Hit at the 7. And you see once again 16 Davis in there. He claims he has the football. He had some help that time from Will Smith as well, who's played a good game at that middle linebacker position.
So I think those safeties that want to run support are the guys that you have to target. Even deep in the red zone, those guys can be influenced with play action passes and get someone in behind them at the back of the end zone.
Second and goal from the 7-yard line. Our second overtime. All touchdowns so far. And TCU needs to do it again. They swing it out to Kevin. He's got more than he will want to. Boy, they cleared out that right side for him. That looked easy. And now the PAT is all important for Overcrone.
That's the beauty of getting man-to-man coverage. Your receivers run everyone off, and nobody was there to take the running back.
So the helmet goes on over the bandage for Seth Doege. But first, this. Dead solid, perfect.
Well, TCU knows they're getting man-to-man defense out of check down here. Typically, the running back would stand and protect. Release him and see if anyone has him in coverage, and the answer is not quite soon enough. Very well executed by TCU.
Well, as we keep walking back to the other ends, I'm sure the officials aren't real happy about this. From here on in, by the way, no more kicked extra points. You must go for 2 if you score the touchdown. Yeah, you can try a field goal if you have to, but you must try for 2. There's that last. Thank you, Kelly, for checking that off. So we've already reached that point.
And we've already seen Texas Tech's willingness to go for 2, so they obviously have some plays in reserve, and every team does. If we're in this situation, what's our best call when we need a 2-point conversion? Both teams
TCU
have
has
that.
elected to play at this end of the field.
Okay, they can do that. Neither team has ever gone this far in their histories in overtime. 3 overtimes.
When you get to this point where you're playing so much ball, you talk about attrition, both mentally and physically. Can the guys hold up, and can they carry out their assignments the way they were in the first 4 quarters? I think Coach Patterson might get hydrated himself.
He's going to have to. All right, his team has the ball. One more time with Boykin. Tucker in motion. Now he pulls up. And back to Tucker they go, and he is smothered for no gain. Now, we've had great play on first downs in this overtime, except that one right there is the first time that a first down play on the first play of the overtime period didn't work. Jackson Richards on the stop.
Well, that's a great point, because when you aren't successful on first down in this situation, all of the pressure transfers to a young redshirt freshman quarterback trying to get it done in a big moment.
You do have a great kicker who's made 5 field goals, but do you really want to settle an overtime game with a field goal? Boykin. And good job there by the Tech defense. That's a gain of about 3. Catch made by Josh Boyce. Now you got 3rd down, and they're going to give him 4 yards, 3rd and 6.
And you're back to how do we teach the redshirt freshman quarterback in this moment, who's hobbled himself, and it's about decision making down here. At worst, we kick a field goal. If it's there, make a play. If it's not, put it on the fellow freshman kicker.
Different formation this time, Kelly. They have an empty backfield, 2 receivers to the short side of the field, 3 to the left of the QB. Guns it. Route was jumped by Cody Davis, who almost intercepted it. And here he comes, Jaden Overcrone.
And the out receiver running the out route right there, and the throw was just simply late. That was Tucker from the slot position. It was the right guy. It just needed to come out about a second and a half earlier.
Oberchrome hasn't missed a kick today. From 38. This guy is as cool as that cryogenic sauna they have here, which stands as a modern hot tub, or cold tub, I should say. He is just perfect. He is unshakable. 6 field goals today for Oberchrome. A while back, when we started this game, we mentioned the significance of this game.
At stake, right?
Yes, in the Big 12, you bet. The winner of this game is going to be 3-1 in the Big 12. There they are right below Kansas State. They're a little busy tonight, too, by the way. The loser is going to drop to 2-2 in the conference, and most likely, realistically, you're not going to win the conference with 2 losses this year in the Big 12. Additionally, both teams have some tough games left. They may end up fighting for bowl eligibility. So there's a lot at stake for a mid to late October game. Now, Texas Tech, a touchdown will win it. They go underneath, and it's broken up. Darren Moore unable to hang on. Jason Verrett knocked it loose.
John Coots, number 97, the defensive end, actually dropped back into coverage in kind of a zone blitz look and created more traffic inside for that crossing route.
Will it come down to the foot of Ryan Buston? 8 out of 11 in field goal attempts this year. Moore, he is a physical receiver. His hands seem like they're always on the defender. Makes that catch inside the 10 to the 8.
And the back shoulder fade that is so difficult to defend. Jason Verrett, number 2, has great man-to-man coverage all the way outside, but throw behind on that back number, and Moore is a physical guy that can just basically box out and get the football.
Well, you got 3 cracks to win the game before you try the field goal. Doege. 2 cracks to win the game before you try the field goal. Knocked down by Devontae Fields.
And remember, Doege is only 6'1", at least it says in the program.
Wink, wink, wink.
And I think if you're too tired to get pressure on this quarterback here, get push and hold your hands up and form a picket fence on the end zone line and make it difficult for him to find a window to throw in and throw through.
They bring pressure from the edge. Doege to the end zone, and it is caught! Touchdown! Texas Tech has won it! And somewhere in the pile is Alex Torres, who caught the ball.
You're going to get pressure here, and so Kenny Kane standing there is the man on the island as the route goes in behind him. You can see the step forward is all the room that's needed for quarterback to find receiver. We've seen this 3 times, and all 3 times it's ended up in the end zone. And
well, you remember what you said
a big play
several hours ago when we started? Where's Alex Torres been today? He had that big game against Oklahoma last year. Well, he ends up coming up big, getting the winning touchdown here.
Well, he not only didn't get a touch until the deep in the 4th quarter, he didn't even get looked at until deep in the 4th quarter. But there's something between the quarterback Doege and Torres that they hook up when it's go time.
What a spectacular football game this was in 3 overtimes. Torres with 2 touchdowns. You had Oberchrome with a school record of 6 field goals in the game. And for TCU, a bitter loss, and they have a evil crunch of their schedule coming up next against some of the best teams in the country, while Texas Tech gets their 6th win and goes to 3-1 in the Big 12. We thank you for joining us. It was a spectacular day in Fort Worth. Now, let's throw it from Fort Worth to our studio. Good night.